at you. Sit down, shut up, get comfortable. It's time for the podcast. A podcast, it's coming into your ears and onto your face. It's just open your senses, exfoliate your mind, because we're about to infuse you with the most homeopathic video game podcast. I don't even know what homeopathic means. Does it have something to do with, what is it, Nick? Did they do that in Britain, right? Is that a thing? You just like put a little bit of something into something else and then you drink it and it's supposed to be good for you?
You ask me? Just because I'm English doesn't mean I have all the answers.
Okay. Well, you sound so goddamn legit with your accent and everything. You can just be like, Jeff, I have reason to believe the PlayStation, or here, I'll try to do British. Jeff, I have, no, I'm not going to do it. Hey, welcome everybody to the Rage Select Podcast. I am Jeff, and I have with me, as the world famous, the universe's most accurate history man, the person who makes all of your dreams come true. It's Mr. Nicholas Hodges himself. Everybody give a hand. Woo! All right, yeah.
I pay him to say that. That's why he's so.
That's right. I'll be expecting your PayPal. This podcast does not continue until my PayPal account has been updated.
Thank you very much.
I was actually thinking about this, Nick. You've had so many nicknames over the time that I've known you. I don't want to bring stuff up. I don't want to bring up painful memories.
Go ahead. Like, people still fucking call me Nicky Poo on my channel. I'm like, God damn it. And what's annoying is that most of the people on my channel don't know me from Spill.com. So the few Spillios come in there, like, hey, Nicky Poo. Everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy? Well, I'm like, you ruined it. Now they're going to call me Nicky Poo.
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but now that I was going to say it, like, you have, you started your own YouTube channel, your history buffs, you're branching out on your own, you're doing your own thing. Like, now is the time that you can create your own nickname. You could basically get, you don't have to wait for anybody else to decide this stuff. You could be like, I am your Lord and Master, Nick Huge Dick Hodges, or I don't know. I mean, I'm
Hot Jizz.
What's that? Hot
Jizz.
Hot Jizz. I am here. Oh no. How does this keep happening? I don't have a name that can do these things. Well, okay, I'm not even going to say that again. I'm not going to encourage it. I don't know what to do, Nick. I mean, do you encourage people? Do you wear out the meme immediately so that it's not cool for them to say it, or are you just going to end up like encouraging them to say it themselves?
No, to be honest, it doesn't really bother me now because, to be honest, when I was given those nicknames, I was way younger. Like, I think I've been part of Spill for I was part of Spill for 8 years or something like that.
Good God.
So, yeah. I think by the time people see me again, they'll be 30. And they'll be like, it won't be appropriate to still call me Nicky Poo, to a 30-year-old man. It'd be kind of weird.
I think you're dramatically underestimating what the internet thinks is quotey fingers appropriate and not appropriate. I mean, here's the thing is that I've told a few times on a few different streams and videos and places that when I was younger, I had an embarrassing nickname. But nobody on Rage Select ever used it, and that's fine. I don't care. I don't really go by it anymore. But it was like, here's some ammo. Have some.
Well, you weren't the baby of the group. I'll say that.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, Nick, what have you been up to? It's been about a month since I've talked to you, right?
I've just been working like crazy on history buffs. Like that's really about it. I haven't really played any games. I think I played Life is Strange. That was really about it.
Did you play the whole thing from start to finish?
I played the whole. That was the only game I could play because I'd be working all day and then I'm like, I'll just do an episode for like a couple of hours, and that was perfect. I actually really like the episodic format, whereas before it used to kind of frustrate me. So I could just play gradually over time. So
let me ask you, Grant and I played, half of the first episode of that when it originally came out, and it was a video that everybody on Rage Select really loved a lot because it was just us bitching about the problems of 17-year-old girls. We're just like, oh God, I can in no way relate to this. You're a father and I'm a 37-year-old man baby. I don't know. I'm using my time travel powers to get good grades in my douchey photography class, and it's like I have more of a connection with D4 with the time traveling crazy detective on an airplane than I do with those girls. But what did you think of it? Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I really did. I thought it was some fantastic writing, and I thought the acting was really good. I think there are a few bits here and there that was really kind of stupid, like the villain who turned out to be the villain in the end. Mm-hmm. But apart from that, I think it was similar to like a Telltale game. In fact, I actually wish more adventure serials would follow the format of Life is Strange. Rather than having the awkward camera position somewhere in the ceiling, to actually be in a third-person view.
Just behind the shoulder, tracking over the shoulder of the main character?
Exactly, yeah. Do that from now on. Like, I think if Life is Strange is able to do it, then they all should just do that from now on.
Okay. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways, the fixed camera angles if I remember correctly, most of the Telltale games have a fixed camera angle on them, right? Where
they do, very, very frustratingly so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of that just comes from the fact that when you have a fixed camera angle, you don't have to model the entire scene, right? Because you know exactly where the player is going to be looking and where they're going to be able to see and what they're not going to be able to see. Whereas Life is Strange, you have to be able to turn the camera all the way around and see in different places. It's probably more of a budget thing with Telltale than anything else, but I don't know. Me and Telltale we're on a break right now. I don't know. They just keep announcing games and
they promise one thing and don't deliver. Is that it?
No, I don't know. I don't even think it's really that. I think it's just more like, so the exact reason that you just talked about liking episodic games, I've actually said this a few different times, is the reason that I hate episodic games because, well, it just... I always play the first episode and then I go, I'll play the rest of this when it finally comes out. And then it comes out and there's already a bunch of other stuff that's out. And I'm just like, fuck it. Last week I was talking, and maybe this is a good time to bring it up again with people about like having the audience of Rage Select get behind me, like picking a day or something of the week and having me just play through these episodic games as an obligation to the fans of Rage Select. That way I will actually do it. I will put it on the schedule and do it instead of just being like, well, I could play Life is Strange, but then there's this Bloodborne over here that I could...
You played enough Bloodborne. Life is Strange.
There's no such thing as enough Bloodborne. There's never enough Bloodborne. Oh, man. Yeah, I went through that entire game again over the last couple days to get ready for John and I playing the DLC. It was like, it started to make me interested in going back and playing through with like some nonsense, like going through and playing with like I don't know, like there's one person who played through that entire game with just fists apparently, which is ludicrous and insane and not a thing that a normal human being should ever really do.
It's like they really achieved something with their life, playing the game with just fists. I mean, you're supposed to play it for fun, really, not for torture.
Well, I think that it just comes down to like once you've played, because there are definitely games. Matt, my friend Matt Frank, who's been on the show a few times, he's been starting to play Bloodborne, and yesterday he asked me, he was like, he's asked me a question about Bloodborne. He was like, well, what level do I need to be to beat this particular boss? And I thought about it, and my answer to him was like, that entirely depends on you. Like, if you're good enough, you could beat the entire game at level 1. But it's like, it really just has to do with how good you are at the game. So I feel like there's a point when you're playing the Souls games where once you get to the point where you can just play the entire game and you're sleeping, you're just like super good at it. You have to start placing dumb artificial restrictions on yourself. Like, I'm going to play this game with a Guitar Hero controller, or I'm going to play this game with just shields and no swords, or, fists.
This sounds like a version of a gateway drug. Like, it just doesn't get me high anymore. I gotta go into the hard stuff, like do some really fucked up shit. Or a guy who's like addicted to porn and has to watch filthier and filthier stuff to get him off.
Okay,
the other stuff is too tame.
Okay, I like your analogies here, or your metaphors. I think that a more appropriate one would probably be people who eat spicy food and keep needing to get spicier and spicier and spicier because they're just like, well, this regular spicy sauce doesn't do anything, so I got to go and order this special, like, I got to sign a waiver on the internet, and the police use this to put down rioters' hot sauce.
No, Jeff, it's about what gets you off in the end. Come on.
Hey, man, I know some people who are way into spicy stuff, and I'm not going to say that doesn't, that there isn't a correlation there. Well, let's see. So you enjoyed Life is Strange, Dan, and that's been it, and you've been working on the show otherwise.
Have we spoken since Christmas? Is this the first time?
Yeah, we had one episode in January.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, nothing much. I just finished an episode for Vikings to take advantage of season 4 coming around the corner, and I'm working on finishing up Waterloo.
Okay.
And have you ever seen that film?
Nope.
Oh, dude, it's got
does it have laser ninjas in it? Does it have?
No, it doesn't. But I'll tell you one thing: they use 16,000 soldiers on screen at the same time.
Wow.
It was shot in 1970. There's been no film since then that has had that many actors on the screen at the same time.
Okay.
So it's like a massive battle scenes with aerial shots from helicopters. And if this was made today, it would all be CGI. So every single soldier you see in the movie is a real person. That's how awesome it is.
Is there a thing where, like, if you look really closely, you can see like one guy's wearing like a pair of sunglasses, or like there's like one person that's like mooning the helicopter that they couldn't edit out or anything?
It's a really bizarre movie. It's about the Battle of Waterloo, but they shot it in the Ukraine during the Cold War, and they had all those soldiers are Soviet soldiers that were taught like how to practice drill formations and marching. And so they were able to save a lot of money by having the Soviets set up a camp next to the battlefield where they shot the entire movie. And the Soviet army paid for their food, so they saved more money that way. It's just, they could never make a film like this again. It's amazing. You got to check it out. I think it's on, you can watch it on YouTube for free or something.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, now you just you just take one guy and copy and paste him 16,000 times, and like you're, in After Effects, and you're just like, done. Boom.
Yeah, which is a bloody shame.
Yep.
I'll say that. I bitch about that a lot in the review that's going to come up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything that came up that was interesting. I feel like, up until very recently, we've had this like big slew of like movie trailers and releases and stuff like that. And I mean, as of recording this, I just there's not really a whole lot. Like, there was a new episode of X-Files that came out, and I don't care enough about.
Did you? Oh, you didn't see that?
No. Did you watch it?
Yeah. I am nuts about the X-Files. I've got all this. I even owned the crap seasons. That's how much I loved it. This was it was soul-crushingly bad.
Really?
It was like they were walking in their sleep. I mean, Gillian Anderson was the only thing that was keeping my attention. That's just because she's hot as ever. But David Duchovny, is that the guy's name who plays Fox Mulder? Yeah. He really couldn't give a shit at this point. It was so bad. I saw Jason was complaining about it on a Facebook post the other day. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm right there with you, mate.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, it's one of those things where I did watch X-Files a little bit, like back when it was probably at its most popular, but I was never like I tell you what, Nick. Here's a thing that we can talk about for just a couple minutes before we jump into all of the gaming news. I do not want just big grumpy cat. Do not want them to bring back every single thing. I don't want it. I don't want more Twin Peaks. I'm gonna be real honest with you here, because this is like probably really heretical on the internet. I don't want to see any more Firefly. I don't want them to bring it back, because the only reason that they're bringing it back is because, I mean, I think there's a difference between, like, when Firefly was originally made, it was made as like a labor of love, like a passion project. Like, I want to make this thing and this story. And so many of these, like, continuing with with these old series, I'm like, I still can't figure out, why are they putting out a new season of fucking Full House on Netflix? Why, God? Why are they doing it? Who likes Full House that much that they want to see more Full House?
I agree with you on that part, but I do want to see Stargate come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was so pissed off when they canceled Atlantis, so that I'll be perfectly fine with. Even if it's just like a reboot, although I preferred if it was, new episodes and all of that. But yeah, I need me some Stargate. And they're bringing back fucking Full House, and they're bringing back Firefly, but they're not bringing back Stargate.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I put in my vote for Farscape. I want more Farscape because I like Farscape. But see, that's the thing.
They concluded Farscape. That's
they
not
did.
fair.
They totally did. You know what? I would like to see a new Farscape series that was set like 10 to 20 years after the end of Farscape, with Crichton and Aaron's kid and maybe like one person from the old cast, because between the new Star Wars and between a bunch of these remakes and, like new X-Files and all this stuff, and I'm just like, make new stuff, man. Like, make new stuff. The old stuff is great, and I like the old stuff, but I'm starting to get a little bit burned out on everything just being like a remake or a reboot or whatever. It's one of the things I actually feel like, I mean, I know that video games have like a pretty they have a tendency to do like HD re-releases of stuff, or to like remake, like stuff like DMC or whatever. But I tell you what, the first part of this year, we haven't had that many like remakes of previous video games. Like, there's still just like new stuff happening, and I guess that's what I really want. Yeah. But
I was just going to say, like, stuff like Farscape or Stargate, that could be expanded on. X-Files, you can't. As much as it pains me to say, because like what they did with episode 1 is that, you know how convoluted everything got, like from seasons 1 to 9.
No, like, I mean, I know at some point David Duchovny, that Fox Mulder left or something, and then it was like, what was like, Ray Liotta or who?
The T-1000.
The T-1000. Robert Patrick.
Yeah.
Robert Patrick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they had some major conspiracy theory all the way from season 1 to the final season. And, of course, they didn't plan where the fuck it was going to go. So it got more and more convoluted. And so in the pilot episode for this new season, Fox Mulder's like, no, it was all a lie. This is what's really going on. It all makes sense now. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's needlessly complicated. Now, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know. Where are you going with this? And that has been a major complaint of all the people who watched the pilot. It's like, you seriously telling me that you're fucking turning everything up from seasons 1 to 9 on its head? And ditching all that. Fuck you.
That's what, but it's funny. My sister said, my sister was talking about watching it. She was talking about watching it with her boyfriend. She was like, "Yeah, I turned it off after like 15 minutes." And she made a really good point where she said the thing that bothered her the most about it was the fact that like it's supposed to be 10 or 20 years, like 10, 15 years or whatever from when the show went off, and neither Mulder nor Scully have changed one bit. They're like exactly the same two people that they were in the X-Files. It's just like they hit pause in the 1990s and then just unpause that shit today. And I was telling her I would love to see like that X-Files come back, and Scully is an administrator and she's married or I don't know, whatever, and then she like has to go find Fox Mulder to find a thing. She finds him and he's just fat now. He's just fatty fat. He sits on the internet and he shoves Cheetos in his face, and he surfs 4chan for conspiracy theories. He's just fat as fuck. That's what I want. I want a fat ass Fox Mulder. Then I want them to have to go out in the field and he's like all huffing and puffing and he's just, oh man, Scully, I need to sit down for a second.
You know what's really sad is that do you ever see Zoolander, where David Duchovny's cameo in that? That guy felt more like Fox Mulder than David Duchovny's performance in the pilot episode.
Wow.
And that was a piss take as well.
Good Lord. Well, I think we've made enough. We've spent enough time talking about how terrible the new X-Files is. People can chime in the comments and let me know. I mean, I spend week after week on the internet just being like, hey man, it's all right. Like, let me before we go, I don't have a lot of room to talk, Nick, because it was like on Sunday or something. I was just looking around and I was just watching stuff on Netflix, and I watched that horrible movie Paycheck with Ben Affleck and Uma Thurman, where her face is like greasy the entire time for some reason. I don't understand.
Wait, is it like a time travel movie or something?
It's I think it's based on a Philip K. Dick story, and it's like Ben Affleck is this guy who reverse engineers things, and then they like wipe his memory out, and then he goes to do this one project, and then they skip over all the things that happens, and then like when he comes back, it turns spoilers for this stupid shitty movie. Don't watch it. Don't watch it unless you really want to see Ben Affleck fight with a bow staff. Like, that's really okay. What happens is he invents this machine that can see into the future, and he sees what's going to happen, and so he decides he has to shut the machine down. But then he sees that the people that hired him are going to try to kill him, so he sends himself all the things in the mail in this little envelope that he needs to get away from them. So that it's just him running, but every time that he's in a jam, he like looks in this envelope and he finds a thing, and he's like, "Oh, that's the thing I need to get out of the situation." Which unfortunately it works for like the first 20 minutes of when he's got this envelope, but at a certain point you realize, like, well, there's no peril anymore because he's already sent himself all of the things that he needs to overcome all of these situations because he's already seen the future before his memory got wiped. Anyway, don't fucking watch it. And then I watched the Nicolas Cage movie Next because, I don't know, I was in some kind of like shitty movie marathon headspace where he plays a magician that can see the future, and it's got...
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's so inexplicable, Nick. I don't understand how it ever got made. It's Nicolas Cage, and then it's got Julianne Moore as this FBI agent, and what's her name? Not Jessica Alba. God, who the hell is it? Jessica Biel. I knew it was a Jessica. So, like... Is
that the chick who looks like Hilary Swank?
Nah, I don't know. I don't know who anybody... I don't know.
Okay, all right.
There's a certain population. I know who Jessica Alba is. Jessica Biel, I don't know who I would even describe her as looking like. I mean, she's got a very pretty face. She just very much she was like popular for a little bit in the mid 2000s, and she just kind of blends in with everybody, with the rest of the hot ladies from. There was a certain like 5-year period in the 2000s where every woman in a movie just looked almost exactly the same. So let's see. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, Blade Trinity, Stealth, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, The A-Team 2010, and Total Recall in 2012. The Total Recall remake.
Right. Okay. I was going to ask if she was in the next Karate Kid movie.
No, that is Hilary Swank. That is
okay.
That's Hilary Swank. Anyway, this movie, Nicolas Cage is a magician, but he can see like 2 minutes into the future. Oh, it's also a Philip K. Dick story. Oh, good. Well, I was just I need to go watch Minority Report or something, a good Philip K. Dick movie. He can see 2 minutes into the future, and then Julianne Moore is like this FBI agent who is like, there's a Russian nuclear bomb on American soil, and she's trying as hard as she can to get Nicolas Cage to work with her to try to find this nuclear bomb, even though he can only see 2 minutes into the future, and he can only see it as it pertains specifically to him. And it's got like 4 clever bits in it, and I remembered those 4 clever bits and then went back and watched it again and was like, oh no. Yeah.
So it's not even like a Wicker Man enjoyable. It's that terrible.
If you're looking for a Nicolas Cage freak-out movie, there's way better than that. I mean, Vampire's Kiss, or, there's way better Nicolas Cage freak-out movies. Anyway, I have blathered on about Nicolas Cage for far more than anybody ever needed to hear. Let's get going on the news, and we need to keep at a pretty decent pace this week because we've got a lot of news. We've got a lot of trailers, actually, to deal with. And our very first trailer this week is one that actually came out like kind of right after or right before we started the podcast last week, but I didn't actually get a chance to watch it. And that is this new Final Fantasy 15 Niflheim base battle footage. So before we start, Nick, allow me to ask you the following question. Do you play any Final Fantasy games? Have you ever really?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
You care at all about Final Fantasy? Any shits to be given? Okay. All right.
No, it's all right.
All right. So this trailer was interesting because it actually showed like a whole stealth action section of the game. As opposed to like almost every other, for your information, Nick, almost every other Final Fantasy 15 trailer has been like the 4 guys, these 4... They're distinguishable, but not by much, right? These 4 anime dudes, and they're just driving around in a car on a road trip. Like, that's been the majority of what we've seen from trailers. Them driving around and then getting out of the car and running around and fighting monsters and stuff like this. This is actually like they're doing a thing. They're not just like broing out and going down to Mexico to score some, cheap weed or hookers or something.
Really? You can play that in Final Fantasy? I want to play that version.
Final Fantasy, weed and hookers. But this is like they're running around in this base, and there's this whole kind of like stealth aspect. And the main guy, I can never remember his freaking name. It's like Noct or something like that. Is using his like throw a blade and then teleport to where the blade is to do a stealth section. And then there's a bunch of fighting where they show, I mean, it looks like I need to go back and look at the oh god, what the hell do they call that? The episode, there was a Final Fantasy 15 demo that we played last year that came out, and I don't remember, like in this gameplay sequence, you can actually see them switching between different people and controlling the 4 different people in their party to kind of do like chain attacks and stuff. And it looks, okay, so here's a question for you, Nick. You're not interested in Final Fantasy 15. You don't really play Final Fantasy. What did you think of this trailer? Did this get you at all interested in Final Fantasy? I mean, did it seem interesting at all to you?
Not especially. I mean, it just seemed like another sort of cliche Japanese game with robots running around. I mean, it kind of felt like Metal Gear Rising to me. But that's really about it. I mean, I didn't particularly enjoy Metal Gear Rising either, even though you got to jump on giant robot monsters and take them down.
Even though you got to cut Metal Gear Ray in half in like the first 10 minutes of the game.
God, that really pissed me off. Because they built up Ray to be like this unstoppable killing machine, and yet this little blonde douchebag could take him down no problem.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, let's be honest here. The end of Metal Gear Solid 2, that blonde douchebag, as part of that particular game, you had to destroy like 12 Metal Gear Rays in a row, showing just how worthless Metal Gear Ray is, which is always funny to me that like in Metal Gear Solid 2, you have to take down all these Metal Gear Rays, and then in Metal Gear Solid 4, when Snake comes across the like broken down carcass of Metal Gear Rex and gets in it, and he's just tearing everything up. This thing's been destroyed for like 20 years, and he just gets in it, and Otacon just turns it back on, and it's just like, great, missiles? Are there still missiles? Oh, there's totally missiles. And then Ocelot comes out in Metal Gear Ray, and he's like, ah! And it's like, what are you going to do with that? Huh? I killed 12 of those like with a guy with a rocket launcher, and here I've got a Metal Gear that even after laying on the ground for 20 years is still able to shoot a laser and kick people in the face. Anyway, I digress. I don't know. I think that the interesting thing about this trailer is that it looks like if I remember correctly, it looks like they've done some streamlining on the UI for the game. I really like the kind of way that the combat is very like fast. It's funny because somebody in the comment section on Rage Select said that the combat here looked like a poor man's version of like Devil May Cry or God of War or something like that.
They say that for a new game as well.
What's that?
They said that for a new game as well, like a poor man's version of Devil May Cry.
Oh, yeah.
Like the original, from the PlayStation 2 era.
Yeah, but I think it's funny because the trailer, if they're even remotely using what they did in the demo, episode Duske, that's what it was called, episode Dookie, that it looks like that, but it's not that kind of gameplay. Like, it's not really as much a third-person action game because there's this whole system of equipping different stuff that makes, when you hit each individual attack button, a different thing. So it's more of like a real-time RPG than like an actual... I guess, like, for me, the focus of stuff like DMC or God of War is always on, like, your actual timing and button presses and things, and there's some of that here, but it seems like there's a lot of, if it's anything like the demo, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes equipment stuff that goes into that, so it gives you more opportunity for customization. I don't know. In any case, I thought the trailer looked really good, and there's this lady at the end with a big, like, some kind of, like, grate on her face. There was a whole 1 hour like podcast thing that they put on the Square Enix channel that I didn't have a chance to look at. I looked at some of the visuals from it, but I wasn't able to actually listen directly to it. But I don't know. It seems like it's shaping up fairly well. And I think, what did they say? There's going to be is there a release date? There's an event called Final Fantasy Uncovered in LA on March 30th where they're going to be releasing the final release date. So that's the world that we live in, Nick, where you have to buy a ticket and go to LA to find out the release date for a Final Fantasy.
Only
game.
for it to be released like a day later. Or actually on the day.
Ooh, man, I hope so. I've been waiting for Final Fantasy 15. Like, this thing has been, I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but they announced this game, the game that is Final Fantasy 15. It was announced, not released, but announced alongside of Final Fantasy 13. It was originally going to be called Final Fantasy Versus 13, I believe, and it's been retooled as a full-on game to be Final Fantasy 15. But it was originally supposed to be like a spin-off of Final Fantasy 13 in that same universe, because they were like, everybody's going to love Final Fantasy 13. And everybody was like, we hate Final Fantasy 13. So
what happened to 14?
14 was the MMO. Like 14, like they had this was in development, and then they had this Versus 13 in development, and then 14 was in development as an MMO. They put that out. It fell on its face. They spent a year and a half revamping it until it became something that was actually kind of worth a damn. I mean, I played it for 14, 16 hours, something like that, and it's all right. It's pretty good if you're really jonesing for Final Fantasy. And then they moved this all the way over to be Final Fantasy 15. Actually, that's a good question. Let me just see. Final Fantasy 15. I want to check the Wikipedia page and see if I can't find when the original trailer for this was. Let's see. Nope. All right. Don't know for sure. All I know is that it was a long goddamn time ago. Like, this thing was announced way the shit back. Like, it was going to be a PlayStation 3 game, near as I could tell. It was announced when the PlayStation 3 was still doing development for Final Fantasy 13. So, yeah. I hope it comes out. I've only been looking at it for like 5 years or 6 or 10, or I don't even know. Time is a mystery to me. All right. And next up, Nick, I'm always complaining, just about everything, but specifically, a lot of times I've been complaining about why is there no Star Wars The Force Awakens movie tie-in video game? Also, why is there no Avengers tie-in game, and why is there no, take your pick.
That's because they usually suck, isn't that it?
Well, yeah, but you know what? We've come to a point in our history of video games where we know that they suck, right? Like, so that's what I don't understand. We know that movie license games suck, so why don't we just make them better? Instead of just not making them at all anymore, why don't we say, okay, well, here are the things that made all the movie tie-in games suck, so let's figure out a way to make them so that they don't suck. But instead, it's just like, nope, they're gone. Which is why it's interesting that it even like literally one day after complaining about this on our Disney Infinity 3.0 stream that I did with Jennifer, Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. Yeah. And
are you excited?
No.
All right, cool.
After playing Lego Marvel's Avengers with which, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a Lego Marvel Superheroes game? Yes, there is. Lego Marvel Superheroes. Oh, shit. I made the trailer for Lego Avengers a picture from Lego Marvel Superheroes. Oops, I need to go change that. Anyway, Lego Marvel Superheroes came out in 2013. Now there is specifically a Lego game based on the Avengers franchise, which uses audio of the people in the Avengers, kind of the way that Lord of the Rings did. And after playing that game with Matt Frank, I'm kind of like, I don't think we're going to play any of these Lego games anymore because I just, they're all $60 and I just don't really have a whole hell of a lot of fun with them.
Hell yeah, man. I am really bitter about these Lego games. I remember one time when we were on spill.com, you fuckers had me review the Pirates of the Caribbean Lego game because I was the youngest in the crew, you son of a bitch. And you got to play some really cool, AAA platform that was rated M for mature or something. I was like, you bastards.
Yep. Yeah, well.
And you know what was really frustrating? I sucked at it.
Uh-huh.
I was like, are you kidding me? I'm an adult. How could I suck at a children's game? A game for really young kids.
No, dude.
I couldn't get past certain levels.
No, dude. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm gonna tell you this right this second. Every time that we play a Lego game on it doesn't matter. Spill, rage select, doesn't matter. Every time that we play one, and it doesn't matter who my co-host is, Matt Frank, Brian Salisbury, Jason, it doesn't matter who it is. Inevitably, like halfway through part one, we hit a thing where I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what to do. And it's incredibly infuriating because it's just like, why do I not know what to do? This is insane. Like, this is a game for babies, and apparently my brain is like, I don't, yeah.
Hell yeah. I had you hounding after me saying, how's it going? I'm like, I can't get through the first level. Like, I was like, come on, man, we've really finished this other game. I'm like, fuck you! I can't get through it.
I'll tell you what came out, because Lego Pirates of the Caribbean came out May of 2011. I'll tell you what came out that same week. Brink. So I wouldn't get too high on that horse of yours, Nick, because Brink sucked. It
was an action game, though, right?
Yeah, but it was like an online team-based bleh action game. I don't know. Anyway, let's go all the way back here to Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens announcement trailer. I got to say that. So this is a trailer that is like it's basically spoofing the original Force Awakens trailer where Finn stands up in the middle of the. Did you see Force Awakens, by the way, Nick? Did we already talk about this? We talked about it last time you were on the show.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what I actually really like about this trailer is that it looks really good, but I'm fairly certain that that's not going to be the way that the actual game looks. If it is, I think that would be an improvement, is because all the Lego games look a little. I mean, we just played Lego Avengers on the PS4, and it looked okay, but it didn't have the same kind of like texture and lighting engine that this trailer has, where things just I don't know, they just look better to me. But
well, I think this trailer achieved two things. One was to give you an idea of the tone of the game, and the other is like how much is based on Star Wars. But once you play it, it's totally its own thing. Like Pirates of the Caribbean had nothing to do really with the pirate. It was just like you dressed up like John was Sparrow, running around and collecting coins and stuff.
Yeah, that's what they all are, though. I mean, there's just like a very tertiary connection to the actual thing itself. I mean, like, for God's sake, there was a part that we cut out of the Avengers one. So you start Lego The Avengers, and you're playing the beginning of Age of Ultron, right? Where they're out in the snow and they're fighting Hydra and all that stuff. And then it flashes back, and the next level is like you're outside of, the very beginning of Avengers 1 where they've got the place where the Tesseract is being held, right? Yeah. It's like you're outside of the front door of that and have to do 2 or 3 puzzles to get inside. And then you fight Loki, and then they go to the place where Tony Stark lands and goes into his like apartment at the top of Stark Tower. And then, like, the next part of the game is that you've got to tear up his entire penthouse to get enough Legos to put together to make the door open or something. And it's just like, this is not the part of these movies that I really want to play. And I'm wondering I think that one of the main issues that I'm having here is that, I don't know, I don't know. Like the Avengers one just wasn't really all that funny to me, and the Lego gameplay has no stakes, right? Because you just get to come back if you die, and so it's like it just ends up being like kind of a monotonous slog to get through. I think the only thing that's really super interesting about this is the fact that there was an interview where they said that they're going to be going a little bit outside of the movies when they make this game, but it's going to be in certain places that have already been established. Like apparently there's a comic book out there right now that establishes why C-3PO has his red arm, and that will be like in the game as well. They'll be doing some of the established like side fiction stuff in the game. But
yeah, I really doubt that Star Wars fans would buy it just to find that part out.
No, I mean, I'd be willing to bet that the reason they have to do that is because if you just focused on just The Force Awakens, I don't know how much of a video game you would have there. Like, it would almost be like an expansion pack, right? Because
unless they did some flashbacks or something,
which they can't really, because
why is that?
Well, they can't just make shit up. Like, Star Wars, like and Disney and Lucas and all them. So far, they've been really, really controlling about. Like, you don't just make up some new shit for the franchise. You tell the stories that we want you to tell. You don't.
No, I meant like from Return of the Jedi and movies like that.
Oh, yeah, but I think they've already covered all that in previous Lego Star Wars games, like the Lego Star Wars Clone Wars, Lego Star Wars the original trilogy. I mean, but I don't.
Yeah, I suppose. Okay.
Anyway, that's Lego. Like I said, I'm really inclined to just stop playing these Lego games because I just don't know how fun they are to watch, and I don't know. I don't know last week when Matt Frank and I played that if we would have been better off just playing something else that we both really liked instead of that, because I got done playing that game and I was like, John, do you want this? And he was like, yeah, I'll take it. I'm like, good, here, have it. Get away. All right, next up, I hope you guys are all ready for some assassinations, because it's time for a little Hitman news. First off, we got a new trailer, and this trailer is going to be really easy to talk about because nothing actually happens in it. Did you watch this trailer, Nick? The Hitman?
I did, and I also watched the previous one where you're in a fashion show.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Yeah, I guess this opens up the episodic thing they're going to start doing with the Hitman series.
Oh yeah, the new one we had a story. It was like a week or two ago where the new one is going to be fully episodic. They were going to start with giving you 3 episodes and then rolling the rest out. Now they're just like, fuck it, it's just episodic. We're just going to be releasing one bubble.
God, so. How do you feel about that? Are you a fan
Terrible.
of Hitman?
Well, I love Hitman, but again, just like we were talking about before, when I sit down to play a video game, I don't do it like a normal person. I do it like a crazy person. I sit down and I want to sit down and play this game for 14 hours and then finish it, not play it for 3 hours and then wait a month, or 2 months for the next episode to come out. And it sucks because, as near as I can tell, I think that Final Fantasy VII isn't out yet, but I think that this is one of the bigger games I've ever seen put together in an episodic way. And I really wish that they would just wait and then put the whole thing out at one time so I could just experience it from beginning to end without having time to forget about it and have to muster up the enthusiasm to come back in and play the game. But
my concern is that there's going to be no storyline. It's literally just going to be missions and that's it.
Maybe. I don't know. I do know that if you watch this trailer that they put out, this World of Assassination trailer, this trailer would have you believe that everything that happens in the entire world is because Hitmen. All events in the world happen because there are hitmen murdering other people, which is a little silly. But I don't know. There's not any actual gameplay in it. It's just just kind of looking at these little infographics and animated text and stuff like that. I mean, the game itself,
something like an intern made or something. You're just release this. We need to post something.
Yeah. And there's also going to be a beta. Available first on the PS4 starting February 12th. If you pre-order, you can get into that. I think we'll probably end up taking a look at that. I mean, I don't know. It's such a trying thing to me because the game looks good and I really want to play it, which means that I want to, play it and not play it a little bit at a time, but just hunker down with it. So are you a fan of the franchise? Are you a fan of the Hitman franchise?
Oh God, that is one of my favorite game series. I played the very first one. Mm-hmm. It was on PC. And I think I was one of the few that really liked the last game. It felt like a Robert Rodriguez movie, and I was really enjoying the different take on it. And it's kind of a shame that they're going away from that to just make it more episodic, just mission by mission by mission. Because there was always a overarching storyline of Hitman discovering who he was and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, they kind of that was kind of a story that had a beginning, middle, and end in the first game, though, right? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know that it really. I mean, I remember I liked the last one too, but then I'm not so stuck to that franchise. I was looking at the comments for that particular trailer that we're just talking about, and there were tons of them that were just make sure that it's as good as Blood Money, and I don't know that. I don't know that.
Well, I played Blood Money. I mean, I see what they're talking about there. I mean, it's very good, but isn't there a risk they're going to reboot it? This is a totally reboot starting from the very beginning when Hitman became an assassin?
I don't know. Let's see. Let me see if I can't. Here's Hitman's video game series, and Hitman.
I'd be frustrated because they've done it twice already. Like I think Hitman 3 was a sort of reboot, but kind of not at the same time. You got to replay old missions from the first one again with updated graphics, of course.
Well, this Wikipedia page says the level design of the game features a structure similar to that of Hitman Blood Money, as opposed to the linear structure of Hitman Absolution. Can't really tell. I mean, not from just like looking at this, from just skimming over this Wikipedia page. I mean,
when I was looking at the game, sorry, you found something?
No, it just says the beta will serve as a prequel to the series. So the beta that you get access to apparently is going to be framed as like a prequel to the entire Hitman series. But
maybe that's what I was looking, because he looks way younger in the gameplay footage we have seen as opposed to how he looks from Absolution.
You mean like Sam Fisher did in Splinter Cell Blacklist, and he was suddenly like the super young guy again?
Oh, God, don't get me started on that. I mean, to be honest with you, he didn't do such a bad job. It's just that, he's no Michael Ironside. I'll say that.
Yeah. Why, if you're not going to have Michael Ironside, why still have Sam Fisher at all? Why not just make it the next Splinter Cell game and be like, oh, yeah, it's this guy who's Sam Fisher's protege who's voiced by somebody else cool, and then make like 5 games with that guy and then go on to something else instead of being like, well, we have a new voice actor. Anyway, whatever. I'm not... we just keep dangerously veering close to different topics of bitchy, complainy. So
right.
Let's move on. All right, next up, Far Cry Primal had a trailer that was, I mean, this might be a little bit more than a week old, but I didn't have a chance to talk about this last week, of what looks an awful lot like what we've seen so far of Far Cry Primal. I mean, I don't know how different this is than the last thing. It's like, hey, it's Caveman, and he's drinking eyeball soup, and now he's running around and he's hitting people with sharpened sticks and other sticks, and he's got a pal. He's got a cat pal, a saber-toothed tiger pal, and they're eating guys.
Is this the closest we've seen to a story trailer?
Maybe. I mean, I think the trailer was more story focused than other ones. I guess
that adds something. I mean, because we get to see your woman get kidnapped by another tribe. So I'm guessing it's gonna be like a rescue game.
Yeah,
like your princesses and other castles type of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I'm still having a really hard time figuring out. I mean, this game looks good. It just doesn't seem to have a whole hell of a lot to do with Far Cry, to me. That's what I keep saying about it, is that it doesn't. Far Cry has now become a really, really charismatic antagonist, climb towers, drive around wingsuit, just do a bunch of cool shit, ride an elephant, and shoot a machine gun, and... I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
this game needed a step in a different direction, I believe, because I loved Far Cry 3. Far Cry 4 wasn't too fond of. So when my brother said, "Oh, have you seen Far Cry Primal?" I couldn't give a shit about that. And then he showed me a trailer for him. Like, okay, now I'm interested because this is something I haven't seen before. Going back to caveman days and seeing mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and all of that. That's perfect for me right there.
I think the sticking point for me might be that the Far Cry series, Far Cry 1, I'm not really a big fan of 2. I mean, I maybe need to go back and check it again because, whatever. But Far Cry 1 and 3 and 4, the actual shooting mechanics of the game, the actual first-person shooter mechanics were okay, but they were a little bit sloppy, but that didn't matter because you had this big old world to go roam around in. And I look at this, and I guess I kind of want to know, I really want to see more about what you're doing outside of throwing a spear or getting a cat pal. What are you doing in the world? Because it seems like that's, what you might end up with here is kind of a mediocre open world shooter otherwise. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to stop talking about Far Cry Primal because every time I run my mouth like this, or maybe I should, Nick, maybe I just continue over the course of the year to be like, yeah, fuck Far Cry Primal, so that when it comes out, I have to go guys, I have been saying fuck Far Cry Primal for a long time, but I got to tell you, I played it and it's so good. I was wrong. Everybody was right. Whatever. I don't know. It just seems a little strange. It just seems very strange it seems like a strange direction for that particular franchise to go. Like, the game looks good, and I could almost see it, putting a new name on this or whatever, because I'm kind of just wondering what exactly is the connection to the Far Cry series, outside of, I guess, like a big open world that you can run around and do stuff in. I don't know. Whatever.
We shall see.
Yep. All right, next up, we got a really interesting, strange story. This is kind of just an aside, Nick, but have you ever heard of Ant Simulator?
No, what's that?
Ant Simulator was an indie game that did a Kickstarter that made like $5,000 or something like that. You get an ant and you run around as your ant and you do stuff and you're an ant.
Shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yep. I'm going somewhere with this. All right.
Okay.
I never really heard of this. It's one of those things. Anything with the word simulator in the title, now that we have Goat Simulator, is kind of like, well, are you just cashing in on the whole simulator thing? But it's interesting. I mean, I'm looking at some gameplay, some alpha gameplay footage of it now, and it does look kind of interesting because it's like an ant on the ground in the world, and you're looking at everything from the view of a very small ant, right? Which I don't know if we've seen. Can you think of a game that's gotten that, like, from a first-person perspective, that's gotten that small, that granular with your point of view? Where
Isn't a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids game, like way back in the day?
Maybe, but I'm trying to. Oh, look, and there's like some kind of like Minecraft. You can like build stuff in here as well. I've never seen this before, so this is kind of interesting. I don't know. I can't tell, but I do know that it feels like it's been a while since, or that I've never really seen anything. It's got potential.
Micro Machines was something like that.
Yeah, but that's even smaller than that. Like, think of an ant on top of a Micro Machine in the point of view. Like, I'm just trying to think of something that is that literally that small. So I don't know. This was kind of interesting. Anyway. Now that I've spent all this time like telling you this thing and getting you interested in it,
all right.
The guy who was like one of the main guys for it, Eric Terashinsky, canceled it and put up a video on YouTube saying, so the other two guys that I started this company with took the money that we got to make this game and spent it on strippers and steak dinners and booze.
Bullshit.
And so I'm canceling this, and not only am I canceling this game, but like because it was all under the same LLC business structure, there was another game that I'm canceling as well that it was apparently working on. I'm still going to keep up my YouTube channel, but yeah, these guys are scumbags and they took all my stuff and, blah, 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 blah. Sounds like a pretty, it sounds fairly plausible, right, Nick? Like,
how much money did he raise again? You said $5,000?
Yeah, like $4,459 from 149 backers. Like, we're not talking about like some.
It's not the end of the world, that.
Right. We're not talking like some Tim Schafer, like, $1.6 million thing or whatever. We're talking about, just a few $1,000s to try to make a game. Right. Well, as you could probably guess, the second article came up where the other two guys that were part of this company with this guy were like, we didn't do that he's talking about. Like, we did have a few dinners, but it was nothing. Like, the books are open. We've never tried to hide anything. We've never tried to embezzle money. We didn't even have access to the bank account in certain cases. So it's kind of interesting. And I only bring it up because it's one of those things where it's like, we will probably never know what in the hell happened here between these guys. Apparently these other two guys, let's see if I can find it. What is their names? Tyler Montz and Devin Staley said that like they thought everything was cool, that it was on track. Like, they got a PS4 dev kit. They wanted to get a demo out on the PS4 and get into early access and all this stuff. And that after Thanksgiving, apparently this Terashinsky guy just got a little cagey, and like they say that he went to their company website and like took his own face off of it to make it look like his business partners were boning him. In any case, the thing that I find most interesting about all of this is that $5,000 apparently is just kind of like gone. So it's just another example of, like, I like to say when Kickstarters do good stuff, I like to kind of point that out. I also like to point out when Kickstarters do terrible stuff, because it's like everybody should definitely be buyer beware at all times when you donate to a Kickstarter, because this could totally happen, even though.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, $5,000 is not a lot of money to make a video game. I thought it was way more expensive than that.
Oh, I think this was going to be very much a very small passion project, and that money was more for like the other two business partners were talking about how they actually paid a few outsourced people to do like rigging and a few things on their models. But I get the feeling that these three guys were operating for nothing. Like they weren't quitting their day jobs to do this. I don't know. I've never really.
That sounds shady as fuck, because like you don't need a Kickstarter to raise $5,000. I mean, like $5,000 is not a lot of money.
Well, I mean, $5,000 is not a lot of money, but it is some money. I mean, if you came to me right now and said, if I came to you right now and said, hey, Nick, do you want $5,000? Would you say no?
Yes. I would say, yeah, sure. Okay. But it's not going to, change my life or anything.
Sure. Sure. I don't know. His old business partners are basically making this out like at the end of the day, he doesn't want to be beholden to anybody anymore, and so he made this story up to basically give him a reason to dissolve everything and start over on his own, because apparently once Ant Simulator started getting traction on Steam, that was when this kind of weirdness started, and so they're like, well, he just wants control of the game. So anyway, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting story. Threw it out there. Let's go ahead and run through the last three of these. Let's see. EA has said that they're probably never going to have any Force Awakens DLC in Star Wars Battlefront. And the reason...
Oh, what a shocker.
Yeah. Well, the reason they give for that is because the game itself is fully set in the original trilogy timeline. It's like set in a specific part of the original trilogy timeline. And so with that said, they say that they can't just artificially pull elements from the future of that timeline and bring them back into the past. So like Battle of Jakku is a thing that they could do because it was kind of remotely close to that timeline, but the Force Awakens stuff is so far out that they probably can't do that. That could honestly be bullshit. I have no idea.
I was about to say, it sounds like total bullshit. They could do whatever the fuck they want. It just sounds like they don't want to commit.
Well, again, like in the Lego Star Wars Force Awakens story, I think that Disney is keeping a real Darth Vader-like fucking grip on who does what in the Star Wars franchise these days.
I feel like saying to them, you can let go now. Like, the movie's come out. There's no more need for secrecy. We've seen the movie, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Market the shit out of it.
I don't know. I mean, last week I also get the impression that last week last week they actually outlined what that $50 season pass for Star Wars Battlefront is going to get you, and it is goddamn not worth $50. So I often wonder if this is just them. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about Battlefront that I like, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't really like. But let's see. Bethesda is going to be hosting another showcase this E3 like they did last time. So they're going to be having another conference that is specifically for Bethesda stuff, which is interesting because Fallout 4 is out. Doom, I don't think will be out by that time. I'm trying to think of what else they've got. Dishonored 2 will probably not be out. Evil Within... They could probably put together enough stuff there. I guess the big question everybody's lips would probably be, it's got to be too soon for there to be another Elder Scrolls game, right? There's no way in hell that they could be putting out they could announce another Elder Scrolls game.
When was Skyrim?
Oh boy. Skyrim was, I believe, 2011. Last podcast, I think I was talking about, or no, it might have been when I was talking about Dragon's Crown, 2011, where I was talking about how Dark Souls and Skyrim came out in the same year as Dragon's Dogma. I keep saying Dragon's Crown, and that's not true.
And then they were making that MMORPG, right?
Oh, it's way out. It's super out already.
No. I'm saying like they did Skyrim, and then they did that MMO game.
Yes,
which took up their time. Mm-hmm. So, which came out like 2 years after that.
3. Skyrim was 2011. 2012 looks like it was all DLC, and then 2014 was the Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay, so yeah, they definitely haven't had time to make it because they spent like 3 years or 4 years on Skyrim alone, I think.
Yeah. So it kind of makes me wonder, maybe DLC for Fallout 4? Maybe that's what they'll be announcing.
I mean, maybe they might be announcing like, oh, we're in the process of making something. Here is a generic trailer to get you excited, and then it'll be like 2 years where nothing happens.
I think Bethesda's usually they're usually good enough about trying not to get you too hyped ahead of time. If I had to make a guess, I'd say, well, they've got a little icon here that's got, the Dragonborn and a Fallout guy, the Evil Within, Cacodemons, something from Battleborn, Dishonored, and then there's 2 other things in here that I don't know what they are. One of them looks like goddamn Duke Nukem, but is that from? No, that's not from Don't Starve. I don't know what the hell that's from. Anyway, yeah, I would be surprised. I like the fact that, again, last week, I don't know if you know this, Nick, but last week we had the story that EA is not going to E3 this year. They're just holding their own event in LA like 3 days before E3, where it's just an open thing where anybody can come and hang around and do stuff. I think that as time goes on, I'm glad to see more and more companies put together their own conferences because it just makes it a lot easier to. It just makes it a lot easier to cover. So
why is it so much easier to cover? I mean, like, surely, like, if you actually go to one of these conventions, then you would want to have everything in one place.
Well, that's sort of true. It's more about like if we were going, if we could freaking afford to go to E3, then that would be a different story. But from a distance, it's nice to just have like discrete intervals of like, because let's say if you're watching, when you're trying to cover the stuff that you're watching a Twitch stream of E3 coverage, right? It's easier to watch like on the first day when it's like, here's a conference. It's, Xbox and then Sony and then, Ubisoft and EA, and each one of them is a conference devoted to a specific thing that's got a bunch of stuff. It's a lot easier to keep track of everything and kind of just pick, watch the stuff that you like than with the generic E3 footage where, the last couple of years where we haven't gone to E3, I've spent a lot of time just in the chat just being like, do you guys want me to change the channel because it's a bad game that they're looking at now? It's something stupid because there's like 4 different channels and they're all covering different things. I like it when everything's kind of in the same place. Like I would really like it if at E3 you just had individual YouTube streaming channels that were devoted to a game or to a one company per. I mean, not, the indie games and like smaller companies that only have one games, but like, think about it. EA, Activision, Ubisoft, Square Enix, like all of those companies could just have one whole channel that was just doing nothing but covering their games the entire time. And those companies have enough games that you could just rotate between them. Even like Sony and Microsoft and, Nintendo could all just have their own channels. So I don't know. Anyway,
also make it a lot shorter as well.
Yeah. I mean, last year, Bethesda crushed it with the Fallout 4 announcement and Doom, and they had a great conference last year, so I'm looking forward to what they're doing this year. All right, Dust 514 is closing up doors in May. I don't know if anybody cares. I don't know if anybody even remembers what Dust 514 is. Do you remember what Dust 514 is, Nick?
No, what's that?
It was the game on the PlayStation 3 that was like the ground game for EVE Online. So it was like a first-person online shooter.
Oh yes, no, I do remember that. I never played it. No, I think my brother did. He was really excited it for about 5 minutes, and then it never sort of led anywhere. Yeah. I mean, it should make sense to have like a strategy game where you can go into first-person mode. I mean, that would be brilliant if they could do that on a single player or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. It's a very interesting idea. I just remember when I played it that it was a lot of times you'll play stuff like PlanetSide or stuff that's much more online focused as far as FPSs go, and there's kind of a dryness to it. And in this case, when I played Dust 514, it just didn't handle super well, and it wasn't the most fun. I mean, it may be one of those things where it's like, well, you have to play it for 25 hours before it gets fun, and if that's the case, well, I don't care about games that you have to play for 25 hours, but
I feel bad. I was actually kind of looking forward to it, and then it just so totally slipped my mind.
Mm-hmm. Came out, and then you just like completely under the radar.
It was like, so I'm kind of like, oh no, I should never had the chance to play it.
Well, here's a statement from CCP that says, well, we're very proud of what we've learned and accomplished with Dust 514 on PlayStation 3 over the past 3 years, and it is an honor to be part of such a dedicated community. We consider Dust 514 one of the best free-to-play offerings on the platform, but the years have caught up with us. Thank you for being a part of Dust 514 on the PS3. We look forward to the next chapter and hope you'll be part of it and continue the journey with us. So I actually think that CCP, the guys that make EVE Online, I think that they've got a really interesting opportunity. Like they've got this EVE Valkyrie game that's like a dogfighting game, and if they could take what they learned from this Dust 514 and make Dust 515, I don't know what you would call it, and really integrate all that stuff into the EVE universe so that it's like, no matter what your style of gameplay is, like if you want to fly the ships, you can fly the ships, but if you want to shoot, you could shoot. If you want to like dogfight, you can dogfight. It'd be nice if all that came together. The only problem is that I can see it being a super, super tenuous balancing act, right? Like if you don't have enough people playing EVE Valkyrie or Dust 514, then because that whole economy and that whole universe is based so much on player interaction, a place where players aren't actually operating is a big like drain just to the world itself, let alone to the game. So,
yeah, I mean, I really think that they should try to do make it single player somehow. I think that would be pretty awesome.
But I don't think that's. I disagree, because if you go in, like I would never actually play EVE Online, but I love the stories that come out of EVE Online about how dedicated people are to that game and how much time and investment they have, like, forming these corporations and these groups of people, and like, to join a guild in a lot of games. Like I was playing Warframe, there's a whole channel, just text channel in Warframe where you're just like, I want to join a guild. They're like, be in my guild. In EVE Online, it's like I've heard all these stories about where people call you on the telephone and talk to you because there's like so much corporate espionage in EVE that they have to try to like get a handle and make sure you aren't somebody else like impersonating another person and make sure you're legit. There's one story about an ambassador that used to, like, if he talked to people in the game and they were smooth, they were good talkers, he would like call them up and offer them jobs and stuff like that. Like, there's so many crazy things going on EVE Online that I'd love to be a part of it, but it's just so daunting. It's such a daunting game.
It's one of those games that you can only play EVE Online. Like, you can't really play anything else. You have to commit yourself only to that one franchise.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. So, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Dust 514, I played it once or twice. It didn't seem great, but I do hope that CCP continues with that stuff because, man, the trailer for EVE Valkyrie looks so good. I mean, it's a whole VR thing as well, but... and last but certainly not least, one more game out there that got a release date this week. Nick, do you know which one it is?
Did you send it to me as a trailer?
I did.
Oh, fuck. The shit. Where you red and you punch.
Oh, you know what you're thinking of? It's Super Hot. Super Hot. Super
That's it.
Hot. Yes. Superhot got a release date. Woohoo! Superhot is coming to PC on February 25th, and I could not be more excited. Have you ever played Superhot, Nick?
No, what's that?
Oh my god, it's so awesome. So you saw this trailer, and I'm sure,
yes.
I don't know, the trailer appealed to you at all? Like just run around as red guys and punching red guys and slicing up red guys and doing stuff. This was a Kickstarter, and it was based on a... like this little prototype game that you played in a flash window. And the whole point of the game is that time only moves when you move. So you're playing a first-person game, and if you just take your hands off the keyboard, actually everything moves or in the demo at least, everything moves in super slow motion when you have your hands off of the kit, mouse, and keyboard. Like it moves, but it's like at a crawl. Then as soon as you start to move, the game speeds up to real time and everything is moving in real time. So you can stop again and like kind of pick what you want to do. And what this means is that you can do stuff like that whole thing, the way that whole trailer played out with the guy like throwing a gun at a guy and then like dodging a bullet and grabbing a samurai sword and throwing it at another guy and like this thing and that thing is that's what ends up kind of being like the replay of what the game looks like when you actually play it, because It's actually kind of more of a strangely bloodthirsty puzzle game because you can stop. Like there's the last level in the demo is like, you remember the end of the original Matrix movie where the three agents are at the end of the hall and they're shooting at Neo?
Yeah.
That is the last level of the original demo of Superhot, and you have to basically use your time-stopping powers to weave in between the bullets because you don't move at super speed, but you can still use the fact that you can slow down / stop time to get a beat on what you need to do to avoid damage. And it's a really clever little game, and they did a Kickstarter. I think it's going to have VR support, which I think sounds great because I think that if like moving your head makes the time move as well, that sounds like a whole other thing that I would love to try out. But yeah, I think that this looks incredible. I don't know.
This does look really cool, actually, from the way you described it. I mean, like, I didn't have any context when I was watching it.
Yeah, it just looks like a bunch of mayhem.
Yeah, exactly. So the way you put it forward, like a puzzle game, then I can see myself kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I highly recommend that you go play the demo. Like, it's free. You just play it in a browser. You don't even have to download anything. You just like load it up in a browser, play it, and then then you'll know what I'm talking about because every time in the demo that you finish a level, it stops and it just says, it's just this really deep voice that says, "Super hot. Super hot, super." It says it forever until you go on to the next level, and it's great. So yeah, Superhot. You could be sure that you are going to see Superhot on Rage Select because, goddamn, am I a fan? I was so close to even like actually kickstarting that game because I thought it was goddamn incredible. And with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. We come back from the break. We're going to have a bunch of questions. This week I put out a call for questions, and just like I always do, I've got way too many questions now. I've got so many questions, Nick, so I don't know how we'll ever get through them all. But we're going to try.
We'll find a way.
That's
we'll
right.
Find a way.
Life, questions finds a way. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back, and yeah. And we're back. It's time. Yeah. It's time, Nick. Nick, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I got 10 questions and a comment that we're all going to deal with here, right here in the second half of the show, where we deal with your questions. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address if you would like to send us in a question. I recommend that as soon as a question crosses your mind, if you want to send it in, boom, put it in my inbox, and we'll go. And our first one here is actually not a question, it's a comment that last week I was complaining pantsing about people pirating Jonathan Blow's The Witness. And in his Twitter feed, there were people out there who were like, well, we're only pirating it because you don't have a demo. And it's like, well, that's, either a developer puts out a demo or they don't put out a demo. It's not like an excuse that you can use to take a thing. Anyway, Carl wrote in and he said, I respectfully disagree with your statement that due to YouTube and Twitch, the demos are not really needed. Video games demand a level of engagement not seen in other media that could be classified as passive. I can see a game being played and hear some feedback on it, but I don't really know how it feels, what the controls are like, etc. In that regard, it's a bit like test driving a car. That being said, this area is murky at best, thanks to early access betas, etc. Carl, and when I got this, I was thinking about it because I was talking about how. Do you know what The Witness is, Nick? Have you seen any video of this?
No.
Okay. Do you remember the game Braid? Did you ever play that? We could rewind time. Okay. There's a guy, Jonathan Blow. He made Braid. He made this game called The Witness. It's kind of like the best way to describe it is it's kind of like Myst. Like you're on this big island and there's like 1 million puzzles. Actually, there's 650 puzzles. And every puzzle is this little window where you draw a line into a pattern and certain types of patterns. And they all have different rules. So some of them you draw it in a certain way and some of you draw it another way. Bada bing, bada boom, whatever. Anyway, this was the thing that I was talking about last week. And I think that in that particular case, I mean, I understand what Carl is saying here, but in that particular case, I feel like because that game is just walking around and then doing these little line puzzles, there's no real need to know how it feels. Like, you're going to be able to know from what that is. And in fact, I don't know. Like, I feel like, and you check me on this, Nick, because, you don't play as many games as I do, but I feel like a lot of times I can see a game and I can't tell exactly what it's going to feel like, but I can get a really good read on it from just looking at footage of a game. rather than actually playing it myself. Some games not, but like, we watched that Far Cry Primal trailer, and I feel like I can kind of get a bit of a handle on like what that's going to play. Like I played a bunch of the other Far Cry games. I played a bunch of first-person shooters in my life that it's like I can kind of get a read. Like definitely not as much as I could if I actually got my hands on it, and I think that's really important.
I got the same thing with Wolfenstein because when I was saying playing game footage when I was seeing it, I was like, oh, this doesn't look anything special. But for some reason, once I started playing with it, this feels awesome. I don't know why, but the shooting mechanics just like felt so just right. Like I hadn't experienced that before with many other shooters. So yeah,
I guess I'm going to say that I like 50% agree with this comment because I feel like you can't ever get the full nuance of what a game feels like to play from just watching a video. But I feel like you can get a lot of it from watching a video, especially if you're watching somebody on Twitch and you can interact with them and you could just be like, well, how does the control feel? And they could be like, oh, it's real tight, or oh, it's real loose, or kind of somewhere in between or whatever. But I don't know. I honestly think that demos are a thing of the past because it just doesn't behoove a company to make you a demo. Like, I don't think that many people who are... Because what you really want out of a demo, right, Nick, is people who are not interested in your game to play the demo and then be interested in your game. And I feel like, in a lot of ways, that's not going to make much of a difference. Like, when the DMC demo came out, I actually felt like that did more harm than good to that game because people played it and then they made YouTube videos about it. Because that game had a demo, right? I seem to remember it having a demo.
I think so.
But yeah, so I don't know. Okay, whatever.
It's been a while actually since I played a demo. I mean, like, I think when they were still like releasing them in PlayStation magazines. Like if you got a PlayStation magazine, there was a demo attached to it. You could play like 15 demos of the month.
I feel like maybe the only way that would work for a lot of those types of games is basically because it also takes time and effort and money to create a demo out of a vertical slice of your particular game. You got to pick the right place in the game. You got to pick a place where people can kind of get a feel for what's going on. But I don't know. Extra Credits did a nice video about it that I highly recommend anybody go watch about demos, where they basically just said, the people that are really excited for your game, they're probably going to buy your game regardless of whether they get a demo or not, right? People are not going to be like, well, I'm super excited for Batman, but I'm not going to buy it unless you let me play it first because I really need to see how it plays. Those people are probably going to buy it. The people that aren't going to buy your game, unless you're doing something really wrong with the way that you're marketing your game, the people who are not interested in playing your game are probably not going to change their minds because of your demo. I mean, at least that's the way that it generally seems from my world. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe people who don't have any idea. Maybe there's a third category there of people who don't really have an opinion about your demo or about your game.
I think you're on the right track because like around then there was no. The internet was really in its infancy. Now they've actually know how to market their games properly. I mean, this is the day of pre-orders. That's the biggest issue.
Right.
Like, you have to pre-order a game, and then when you play it, you are kind of screwed if you despise it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm much more against pre-orders. I guess the thing is that it's like I almost find it interesting that people are demanding a demo because, like you just said, I can't think of the last time I played a demo. I mean, early access, yes, but like an actual, honest to God, download this. I mean, I guess the Final Fantasy 15 episode Duske was a demo, but then that was like, you had to buy another game to get access to it and blah, 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 blah. So, but I don't know. I mean, I can see it go either way. I just don't think we live in a world anymore where companies are going to be interested in giving you a demo to play. Because that time and effort and at the end of the day, money could probably be better spent making another flashy trailer that they could show you, or another 5 flashy trailers they could show you to get you excited about the game without running the risk of giving you a demo and then you going like, oh, well, fuck this game. I hate this. I was excited about it, but now I've played it and fuck it. It's terrible. Anyway, let's go on to the actual questions themselves. The first one comes in from Matt, who says, Jeff and Nick, greetings from Western Pennsylvania. My question involves media consumption. Watching last week's episodes of The Witness, I had a weird experience. It was both incredibly enjoyable and incredibly frustrating. I don't mind puzzles or anything like that, but the game itself was just driving me nuts. It wasn't the typical, you can't figure this out, screaming at the screen, more of a general level of unsettledness. So my question has, have you ever had something in your media consumption lives that you both enjoyed and drove you crazy? Something that you don't want to look at but can't look away. Keep up the great work. Rage forward. Hail the mighty Dong Lord. Your loyal Patreon subscriber, Matt. So that's an interesting question. That's
a tough question, that.
Yeah, something that drives you nuts, but you can't. You know, I'd probably tell you, Nick, the last time that happened to me was watching the TV show The Newsroom. Do you remember that show?
Oh, yeah. I love that show. I've only seen season 1. I've never seen any of the others.
I hate-watched the shit out of that show because it was a good show. Well, okay, let me make a whole series of caveats to what I'm saying here, right? I liked parts of The Newsroom. I liked the fictional idea of like a news show that just is like the sensible, tell it like it is, blah, 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 blah. But every so often, that show wandered into the completely stupid so far that I couldn't honestly goddamn believe it. And then every single part of that show that had to do with like the personal lives of the characters, I wanted to rip my face off of my face and throw it just into the street and on fire, because it was like, it may come down to one thing, Nick, which is that I don't ever want to see Alison Pill cast as a this kind of weepy, I don't know what I want character, because she was Kim in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and she was such a great character there as just this irascible person, and then she'd just be, well, I don't know, I'm kind of in love with this guy, but I also like this douchebag, and what am I gonna do? And it's like, no, just go back to the news thing.
I agree with you there. Like during those moments, I kind of just tune out. Like, okay, I really couldn't care less about this. Can we go back to the politics and what's going on in the newsroom? Mm-hmm. Rather than this cliche drama. That,
and I remember there was there's one plot point in there where like they really wanted to have this news crew really wanted to host the presidential debate so they could really like nail down candidates with really hard to answer questions and like make them look like fools. And of course, the establishment, and in this case that meant Republicans, were like, no, we're not going to agree to you basically making our candidates look like utter assholes on TV. And they're like, but the truth. And it's like, yeah, but you're making them look like assholes. And that's not like, we don't sign people up to make the people that we want people to vote for look like complete fools. And they're like, but the truth. And I'm like, you're stupid. That's stupid. You can't just say, but we love the truth. So anyway, sorry, that every week I'd be like, I think I'm done with this show. And then I would watch the next episode and be like, okay. Oh no. Okay. Nope. No, I don't. No, not even a little bit. But then I spent a good year and a half watching Aaron Sorkin shows and learning. I don't think I like Aaron Sorkin all that much. Like, I don't think he can write people worth a damn. I think he can write these kind of nifty, the West Wing was at its best when they were doing politics and it was fun. It was kind of like a weird political power fantasy type of thing to watch. Yeah. But whenever they went to the personal lives of the people involved, it was just like, oh my God, this is the worst. And I fucking hate it. Anyway, I don't know. This question is so open-ended. The game itself was driving me nuts. It wasn't the typical, you can't figure this out, screaming at the screen, more of a general level of unsettledness. I don't know. What do you think? I'm just
you feel both down and you can't not help but notice. Like you have to look at it and you can't help but look away, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, his question is, have you ever had something in your media consumption that you both enjoyed and drove you crazy? That's a very open-ended question.
My comment section.
Hey, everybody's comment section's like that, right? That's just the internet's comment section where you enjoy it and you drive. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, that's very nice. And
Okay, that was a bit mean. No. I really like my subscribers. You're all fantastic. Actually, I'll be honest with you. It's the inner political correctness in my country, anyway. I think it's way worse than it is in the United States, where I can't help but watch typical politics videos on YouTube concerning the UK and what's going on. And I know I shouldn't be watching them because I get more and more pissed off the more I watch them. But I'm just fascinated. I have to find out, like, if I'm crazy, not crazy or something. Because, like, I'm neither, like, liberal or conservative. I'm, like, in the middle. And I hate, like, you got people on the conservative side who are crazy. And then you got liberals who are way too who think that the world is totally different than it really is. And so that's it. Like, I find myself watching these things and then I'm like, no, I got to stop watching. And then when you go on YouTube again, you see like a recommended playlist.
Oh yeah, because you watched one of them.
yeah, and then you're like, no, I can't. Or maybe just one more, and then you get more pissed off.
Yeah, I think that I'm still coming to grips with what you're talking about, and I think that the thing that has probably helped me more than anything is to remember that you can find a corner of the internet that is literally willing to advocate for or against anything and everything. So it's so hard to tell because you're like, well, here's an internet person with a video and it's got like 150,000 hits and they're saying this thing and it just seems like complete nonsense. And it's like, yeah, that's because 150,000 people isn't really all that big a deal when you're talking about like the world, right? But,
exactly. And like we find a video where people are saying what you personally feel. You're like, why does no one else think of this? Why am I the only one? Shit.
Yeah, I'll go down. There's some websites that I know I shouldn't link to, or I know that I should never leave, and or I shouldn't leave. I know I should not go to, and yet people in my comment stream will post stuff from them, and I will go to them and be like, oh, man. Because it's like an hour later, and I'm just like, fuck. My whole worldview is now in question, and I hate everything, and God damn it.
By the way, notice how we're being extremely vague on what videos we are watching.
Oh, yes.
What politics.
Yes. Somebody actually sent in a very specifically political question this week, and I read it, and I was like, I'm not qualified to talk about this because anybody who's adept at arguing politics is just going to be like, well, you're a stupid asshole. And I'll be like, oh, yeah. No. That's true. I am a stupid asshole. That's what it is.
You know, the thing is, like, since I review historical movies, a lot of people have been saying, like, Nick, why don't you review something more recent, like Black Hawk Down or like anything even in the 21st century? And I'm just like, you know, the further back in time you go, the less emotional attachment people have to the time period. So if you go back to the Greeks, no one gives a shit if you're slagging off the Greeks or the Persians or whatever. But you come to like the Iraq War, or you come to like WikiLeaks or something, anything like that, then people get like really pissed off if you start giving. And you can't. And there's a catch-22. You're gonna have to irritate someone because you're talking about history, even though it happened sort of recently.
Sure.
Unless it's something like one of the videos that I'm not particularly fond of that I reviewed was Kingdom of Heaven. And that was, and I thought that was a safe subject to touch upon because it nearly happened like 1,000 years ago or something like that. Nope. Even like then, like people are strongly opinionated about something that happened in the Dark Ages, practically. So sure,
I mean, but you know, again, this is the internet. Like, go find a picture of, or go find a video of. This is a kind of a cracked thing that I'm for one of the crack podcasts. Go find a video of a baby singing "Let It Go" from Frozen, like a 2-year-old singing a Disney song. And then go down to the comments, and you're going to find people who are like, fuck that baby. That baby is the worst and deserves to be thrown on a fire. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you go on the internet. There's going to be people that are just going to be like, it doesn't matter. I swear to God, like, don't ever, I'll tell you, this is actually the answer to this question, where I'll be like, somebody will post a video on Twitter or Facebook of a dog doing something, and I'll be like, oh, look at that dog. It's a YouTube video of some dog, and he's like, oh, look at him, he's so cute, I like him so much. And then I scroll down to the comments, and it's like within a dozen comments, it's turned into like, oh God. I mean, especially if it's anything pit bull related, because my dog is a stealth pit bull, and you go down to the comments and just like, that dog should be destroyed, pit bulls are the most, they're so dangerous and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, and because what happens, Nick, is that I read that comment and I'm like, that guy's trying to murder my dog. Fuck that guy. No, I'm gonna murder you. You can't kill my dog. So YouTube comments are a good answer to this question.
It really is. Like my Kingdom of Heaven review is like my second highest viewed video or something like that.
Yeah.
I almost loathe that video. Like I don't like visiting the comment section because of like some of the nasty shit that like gets posted on it, and I'm like,
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, Nick, the most popular video that Rage Select has ever made. The video that we have that has the highest number of hits ever, I have no idea why this is Spartacus. There's a free-to-play Spartacus arena fighting game. It is the single most Spartacus. It is the most viewed thing on all of Rage Select. It's 500 views away from being 30,000 hits. Spartacus Legends. A good 75% of the comments in there are just about how can you even have an opinion about this game without ever having watched the Spartacus show? And you don't know. And like, oh, just a bunch of assholes talking out their ass who don't know anything about Spartacus. And it's like, yeah, man, we're playing a Spartacus video game. I'm not going to go watch 4 seasons of TV and like read a couple historical things before we play the fucking free-to-play Spartacus arena fighting game. So anyway, take that, the internet, my biting commentary. I have no idea. Just as a brief aside, Nick, I don't have any idea why things on Rage Select are popular or not popular, because Spartacus Legends is our most popular video. The next one is Just Dance 2015, which I understand. That one's got a bunch of goofy dancing in it. But as you go down, you start to get stuff like John and I played Hawken or Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, where I'm like, why? Connect Sports Rivals. I don't know. Anyway, we got so many questions. We're going to move on to the next one. This one comes in from Andy. And Andy says, hey, Jeff and Nick, with the recent announcement, the Dark Souls 3 will be the last Souls game from Software. What do you think Miyazaki's next game will be? I personally would like to see a proper horror game from him. Dark Souls and Bloodborne flirted with horror and insanity, but weren't true horror games. Maybe Bloodborne was. Also, do you think Sony will hire another studio to make Bloodborne 2 if From Software refuses? Who would you like if they do? Thanks for answering my questions, Andy. I would disagree a little bit, Andy. Well, okay. So Nick, may I present you with a hypothetical question?
Please do.
Okay. So horror games, the thing that horror games do is horror games are there to scare you, right? To make you afraid, to present you with horror and fear, okay? I feel like there's a couple of different types of fear that you can deal with. I feel like most horror games have a creepy atmosphere, like what the hell is going on here? The horror of the unknown, or like monsters or body horror or ghosts or whatever, right? I feel like Dark Souls and Bloodborne are very well suited to the fear of, what the fuck is that? Oh shit, he's swinging that sword. Get out of the way. Run back. Like the fear of combat, of running up against something that's a giant monster full of horror, and not being afraid because the monster is horrifying, but being afraid because you know what that big ass sword does, and you got to dodge it at the last possible second, and if you don't, that guy's gonna fucking kill you. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird. It's more of a semantics question of like, what do you actually call a horror game? Because I'm more afraid of the bosses in Dark Souls and Bloodborne than I am of the jump scares in Five Nights at Freddy's. So the jump scares in Five Nights at Freddy's are definitely like immediately more tactily scary to me, but that's because it's a cheap trick as opposed to, when something is getting ready to flatten you, and you're just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. So
yeah, it's not exactly like you're feeling unsettled or anything like with the Silent Hill games.
Maybe that's the difference. Maybe unease is the difference that we're looking for here, is that fear is part of it, but there's a constant low-level kind of like unease about what's coming. But see, even that I don't know, because once you get the systems of Bloodborne and Dark Souls down, when you're going into any new area, there is a very much a feeling of unease about like, all right, game, what's next? The fuck are you doing? Like, I can tell you right now that I don't get scared by a lot of horror games, but there's a part in Bloodborne where you go into this building, and god damn it, I played it again recently, and it's just the worst. You go into this building, and there's just spiders, big, realistic-looking spiders hanging from the ceiling in kind of a geometric pattern, and you're just looking at them, and you're like, if I walk in there, those spiders are going to come down off the ceiling, and they're going to come and fight me, and I'm going to have to fight a whole shitload of spiders, including a big-ass spider, and I don't like spiders, and blah, gross. Anyway, I mean, I remember in Bloodborne, the first time that I saw there's a character in that game that is basically just a Black Widow spider with a human head on it, like a white human head. And the first time that I saw it, it was hooked to the back of a doorway. I didn't realize it, but you come to the doorway and you talk to this character, and then later on in the game, you're able to make your way and you see them from behind. The first time that I saw it, I was like, holy shit, that's a giant spider. And I just started hitting it, and then it ran up, skidded up onto a table and was like, stop hitting me. And I was like, it talks too. Die faster, bitch. Ah! So I think that Dark Souls and Bloodborne have elicited more horror from me than other horror games have. Anyway, this is so off topic. How about if you go first? Do you have any? I mean, you've never really played these games, so I don't know if you have much of a dog in the fight.
No, I never played the Bloodborne games. I'm not going to tell you about games that have scared me, but well, I mean, there are very few games. Not even the Alien Isolation game was particularly scary, because once you figured out like how to go around and beat the alien, then it wasn't so hard after a while.
I mean, I guess
remember one time that freaked me out was playing a Metal Gear Solid 2. When I was a kid, and at the time I was sharing the same room with my little brother, and so we were not supposed to be playing. So I'm having the headphones on, I'm playing, and I'm like going for hours and hours. It's nearly like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I reached the bit of the game with the general and the other chicks start like freaking out and start talking to you, like turn the PlayStation off.
Right?
I was like, what? you kind of like look around like, did I just hear what I think he said?
Okay, well, let's go back. I mean, I guess here's well, I'll answer this. I would like to see, I think that Miyazaki has already flirted, like you said, with horror and insanity. I'd like to see him make something that's kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum. It's maybe like a more either like a science fiction game, or I'd actually really like to see Miyazaki's take on like a modern game, a game that takes place in this time period, like in 2016. Because I think that bringing his particular aesthetic, I think there's so many things that you can do with the way that, with his aesthetic, with the way that he makes games and his kind of, because he's a lot like Kojima in that he's very like detail focused and he makes these good systems and stuff like that. So I would like to see something. You know what I'd really like to see? I'd really like to see Miyazaki make an Armored Core game. And I don't know if he's been in charge of any of the other Armored Core games, but I've never really been able to get into them. And I think that would be really interesting for him to take the reins on a new PS4, Xbox One Armored Core game. Oh shit, there was 5 Armored Core games that weren't released outside of Japan. Anyway, I'm just looking here to make sure that Takahashi. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, he already did one of those. That's just me being stupid. Armored Core 4 Answer is totally was developed by Hidetaka Miyazaki. Okay, never mind. Fuck it. Modern day future. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I need to go back and play. I always wanted to play Armored Core 4 Answer, and I never really got a chance to. I don't like. Oh, he also made Armored Core 4. Interesting. Okay, so I'm way behind on my Armored Core Miyazaki games. How many Armored Core games did he make? Have you ever played any of those games, Nick?
Nah.
Okay. Nope. And nope. Okay, fine. But a horror game would be fine. I'm really just whatever the guy wants to make. It's kind of like Kojima, where that Miyazaki's already given me three really fantastic games: Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Bloodborne. And hopefully, Dark Souls 3 will be just as awesome. And at that point, if you make 3 of my favorite games that I played in the last few years, and we're on track for a 4th, as far as I'm concerned, you do whatever you want to, sir. As far as a studio that Sony could hire to do Bloodborne 2 if From Software refuses, oh boy. You know what? Oh God, that would be so weird. They've got Kojima with them now. Sony's got Kojima on board now. I'd like to see Kojima make a Bloodborne game.
Shit.
Because he's got that weird level of detail. You know what? I'd like to see Kojima and Suda51 team up and make a Bloodborne game. I don't know. It'd be more like Gonzo Balls Out than the kind of quiet Lovecraftian horror of current Bloodborne. But do you know there's a weapon in Bloodborne? I never used it until yesterday, Nick. There's a weapon in Bloodborne. It's just a big wheel. You just carry a wheel around with you and slap people with this giant like wagon wheel. So
okay.
Yep. All right. Our next question comes in from Alex. Alex says, good evening, Jeff and Nick. I am a huge fan of the Souls series and also dogs. Why do so many games throw dogs at you to kill? I was brutally killing them last night in Bloodborne, and then my 2 dogs came up and sat next to me on the couch, and I felt a bit unsettled. I understand there's a separation between video games and reality, and that most video game dogs are either trying to kill you or zombified or not just normal dogs. But why are we okay with this? It is like in horror movies when the director can kill all the people they want to, but as soon as an animal gets killed, you feel compassion and empathy and start cursing the director. Why don't we do this for video games? Is it because they're computer-generated images, and in movies, it's usually a real dog or animal? Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Cheers, Alex.
Well, to be honest, I'm actually I prefer it to be dogs than wolves. I'm getting really sick and tired of wolves being the main antagonist in your early starting games. Like I remember playing Dragon's Dogma, and I was getting really fed up with all the going from one town to the other, getting attacked non-stop by fucking wolves. It just pissed me off. Like you kill more wolves in these games than people. Mm-hmm. Like Skyrim, for example, there are wolves everywhere.
Well, that's true. It's very true. I don't know. I think I'm able to make a differentiated difference in my head between well, I don't know. It's mostly the fact that most games just grotesque the hell. Like Bloodborne, the dogs they're like fucking zombie jerk. I mean, the early ones aren't, but like later on, like I was playing a Chalice dungeon last night. These dogs came at me that literally breathed fire, had glowing red eyes, and had like spikes coming out of them. So that was enough of a difference that I was like, I don't feel too bad about this. This dog is obviously not like somebody's pet. This is like some kind of like murder dog.
Exactly. I mean, do you remember the time Peter got pissed off when you could kill whales in Black Flag?
Sure. That was a little weird. Yeah.
That was weird. I didn't know what they were getting pissed off about. You think people playing the game want to go out wailing after playing it?
Oh, I'm saying I felt weird about it because, whales are, because I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, and goddamn, I mean, like, look, dude, Star Trek 4, where they got to go back in time and save the goddamn whales. There's actually a Star Trek movie where they actually have to go back in time to save
that
whales.
Was made. Yeah, it
was
actually made.
Yeah, like the thing is that a giant invincible poop comes to Earth and is going to destroy the world unless it gets some whales to like answer its like telephone call. And the longer that it stands over the Earth and tries to call for the whales and doesn't get an answer, the more destruction has happened. So for that particular thing, I'm kind of with Peter on that because I spent my entire childhood being taught like, no, we love the whales. They're the best. They're the whales.
I'm 100% with you. I mean, I watched Blackfish. I watched the Cove documentary and teared up and all of that stuff. But it really is just a game in the end of the day. But people do get really uptight with this sort of stuff. I think maybe one of the reasons why like Ron Howard's whale movie didn't do so well recently. Mm-hmm. There was like the true story behind Moby Dick. And it was just like people
and the whale was the bad guy, and it was like,
yeah, the whale's the bad guy. It's like this is the 21st century. You can't you can't do that anymore. Like nobody wants to see where the whale is sort of the bad guy. I don't think there's been a Moby Dick film for years. Because, it was different, like in the 19th century, where it was just generally accepted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are nowadays. You can't make a movie called "Fuck the Whales." You just screw them. Yeah, I don't know. As far as the dog thing goes, I mean, I'm able to make a very specific distinction between dogs in video games and my dog. The only thing that I could say that really disturbed me was there was at least. God, what was it? Like one of the Call of Duty games where the dogs would run up, and when they got to you, they would
snap its neck.
Yeah,
basically.
you would be holding its head, and if you hit the right buttons, you would snap its neck. And that was a little much. That was like, I don't want to look directly into this dog's eyes when I murder the shit out of it.
like stroking, fondling its ears,
Right.
I'm sorry, I have to do this,
Right.
But I don't know what it is. Like I get very protective with wolves as you do with whales. But I think I'm okay with dogs because dogs are accepted by humans generally, whereas wolves, I think they get a very, very bad rep. And was it Sarah Palin? Didn't she admit that she used to hunt wolves for fun?
Oh yeah,
and that fucking pissed me off because I don't think there's anything good about that. So, and wolves are at the brink of extinction anyway in a lot of places of the world. So,
yeah. You know the problem that we have here in Texas, Nick?
What's that?
Pigs, wild pigs.
Really?
Yeah.
Even in Austin, you get pigs coming into Austin.
No, not in Austin. It's more just in rural areas, as near as I can tell. I remember reading an article a while back, and somebody could fact check me about this, where they said that we have to currently kill something like 30,000 wild pigs a year just to keep their levels neutral. Like, we're not actually making a dent in the number that there are if you get rid of something like 30,000 or it was 300,000. Again, somebody should go look at the actual number because I don't know it off the top of my head, obviously. But it was kind of one of those things where I was like, really? Because, they're just out there in the countryside and they'll just chew up crops and then just fuck and eat and make more pigs. And it's like,
why not just get all those redneck hunters to shoot those fucking pigs? I thought it'd be their wet dream. Stop them shooting deer and other animals and just have them shoot pigs.
I think they do, but I think there's just so goddamn many pigs. Actually, the article that I read, I don't remember where this was. Like I said, it was a while back, where I read an article that was actually from a hunter because, there's a certain places where I think feel like the feral pigs is it's open season, where the hunter was like, we do have a full mandate to kill as many as we want, but they're fucking smart. Like, they'll learn. They'll learn from a previous, if you try to trap them and they get away, they'll learn. And then you can't trap them the same way next time because they're leery. Because,
like Jurassic Park or something like that.
Yeah. Because, pigs are relatively intelligent. And so, yeah, they'll fucking learn from their mistakes. And, yeah, crazy.
Isn't that, part of the allure with hunting? Why would there be a thrill in shooting a dumb animal that's just going to stay motionless in your crosshairs?
Well, Nick. That's why I only hunt other humans. That's the only.
In video games.
Yeah. All right. Our next question comes in from Mexicante, who says, "Hello, Jeff and Nick." And this one's just for you, Nick. Just watched the latest episode of History Buffs. Great stuff.
Oh.
Love it. Can't wait for the next episode. What is your favorite? This is the question. What is your favorite piece of human history? An event or period of time. An event or period of time do you guys love to read about or seems curious to you? Also, bonus question. What historic event would you love to see in a movie, TV, or video game? Thanks. May the Dong Lord smile on you and be gracious. Mexicante. So, what is your favorite? Let's take these in order. What is your favorite piece of human history?
You want to go first?
No. You're the history buff here. You go first.
All right. Okay. I guess the Roman Empire. I find something truly fascinating about it, and I see a lot of parallels between how that civilization was to Western civilization, like how it rose, its peak, then its decline. And you could see and it's I kind of see like how it could start mirroring how Western civilizations today, where like people stopped expanding as much. The empire stopped expanding, and there was corruption set in, and they just stopped. There was like inner fighting and all of that. Like they weren't willing to actually stand up for the empire, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a bit of a tough one because you're talking about like hundreds of years of history there. But
right.
I truly find something fascinating about it.
I've been curious ever since I listened to the hardcore history guide that I listened to of the Mongols. I find that to be so fascinating, like just how much of this just like unstoppable machine of destruction and consumption that this group was, and how the only reason that they didn't continue on their march into Europe, their excursions into Europe, was because they all had to go back and vote on a new Khan. And that if it wasn't for because nobody could beat them, it seemed like all the top people of the time, and I find them so interesting because of the way that they would they would take prisoners and then integrate them into, like, they would find the best people from the people that they were conquering and then integrate them back into their armies that they had, like siege equipment, different things like that, and just really really interesting. Still no interest in playing the Total War. Was there Attila. It's Attila.
Yeah. Well, the Huns though
that's different.
Like they were the Mongols were the descendants of. Wait, is the other way around? No, they were definitely related. The Huns. They came from the same Asian steppe as the Mongols.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons they came to Rome was because the Chinese sort of defeated them, and they went west instead.
Okay. But yeah, so far, I mean, what I heard in that podcast was just a small little piece. It's one of those things that I almost would like to sit down and just read some history.
I actually listened to it after your recommendation. I thought it was really good, and his points that he made about this revisionist history and why it shouldn't be applied to the Mongols, because people now today are saying like, oh, the Mongols did a lot of good things, like reopening the Silk Road, reopening trade with the east to west, which hadn't been done since the Roman Empire. The Romans actually started the trade with the Chinese, which doesn't get talked about very much. I would love to see some documentary or film series about the first Roman merchants who made it to China. But in any case, what he was saying, how there's also this revisionist history talking about the good things the Mongols did, I totally agree with him. I think it's simply a byproduct, and it wasn't their goal at all. Their goal was to conquer and to make money. They couldn't give a shit about, like, if they were okay with trade simply because it brought in wealth, not for the benefit of mankind. Right.
Yeah, when you read some of the individual things that happened under the the Mongols, like, no, I don't think these are like a real super compassionate, forward-thinking people, especially when you consider just the number of engagements that they have where they're like, look, if you let us in now, we'll only kill half of the people in your city, but if we have to break down your walls, we're going to kill everybody. And they're like, okay, open the doors, we'll take 50%. And they're like, just kidding, we're going to kill everybody anyway, go fuck yourself. You stupid assholes. Like what they had when they were going to Europe and they were met by that army when their scouting party was coming over the Black Mountains, or I don't know, whatever it was, and they reach these guys and there's like these half European, half steppe people army, and they send down a courier to go to the steppe people and go, hey man, you guys are steppe people, we love you, we're just like you, we're steppe people too, don't fight with these assholes, just fucking go, we'll let you go, you guys go and it's fine. And they're like, otherwise we'll totally destroy you, and just bad, we'll say bad stuff about your mom too. And then they decide the steppe people are like, they make a good point, I don't want anybody to talk about my mom, and so they leave, and then they come down and they destroy the half of the army that's left, and then they go and catch up with those guys and kill them all anyway. And it's just like, after a certain amount of time when you're reading this stuff about the Mongols, or you're listening to this podcast about the Mongols, you're like, it's hard to remember that in certain points in human history, like, there was no message. There was no phone or any way to get a message. Like it was a huge thing to get a message from like one side of the world to another, or from one area to another area, because you listen to this and you're like, the Mongols just keep pulling the same shit every time and everybody believes them. And you go, of course they believe them. They don't know what happened to those last guys. They don't talk to those guys. They're several hundred miles away. They might as well be on Venus for all they know about those guys. So they just basically they find this one. They find like half these stories about the Mongols are basically just like their whole brilliance was like they're super good liars, because they're like, what about this? Oh, we like you guys, right? And then people are like, oh, it seemed all right to me. And they're like, we murdered all of you. And they just move on to the next people over. They're just like, same thing. And then they're like, well, they seem all right to me. And then, you murdered over again. Where it's like, if there's just one person that had a phone that could call, like could get on a conference call with all the other towns in China and be like, they will still kill you even if you open the doors. They're killing me right now. Don't open the doors. I
still don't understand why there has to be revisionist history with barbaric tribes or peoples. Like I just finished with Vikings, and I'm just sick to death of like I've been watching loads of documentaries. And they're saying, like, usually when we think of the Vikings, they're, barbaric thugs and they're dirty and uncivilized. But actually, they had, like, a really interesting legal system. And the women were treated as equals amongst their society. They could divorce men, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that is totally irrelevant. They were still fucking barbaric people who butchered and enslaved, citizens like Christians and all of that. Like, I judge civilization by the acts that they commit. I think of Julius Caesar the same way, committing barbaric acts when he was responsible for the death of 1 million Gauls, for example.
Right.
But there's some reason like why historians have to go back and like find the good things about these despicable people.
I mean, not to speak for revisionist historians everywhere, but the more I learn about history, the more I'm just like, the history of the human race is so just bathed in blood from top to bottom that at a certain point it's like you're okay, so we're gonna go talk about these people over here now, and you're like, okay, and what time period are we talking about? It's like, well, the 900 BC or 900 AD or something like that. It's like, okay, well, so we can have it as a given that they're probably just murder everybody inside all the time, right? So what else did they do? Did they do something besides murdering everybody? Did they have a nice legal system? Like, because we could just assume that everybody is murdering everybody all the time, and then just look at the other stuff that's past that. I don't know. Maybe that's what you're getting, is that like at a certain point historians are just like, yeah, of course they murdered everybody. Everybody murdered everybody all the time, and it was a murder place all the time in the world. So let's focus on the next thing. I don't.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what I got here. We're going to have to speed it up, or we're going to have a freaking 3-hour podcast, Nick. Bert Cocaine writes in and says, good morrow, all. Bert Cocaine here with a quick question. We're entering year 4 of the current generation of consoles, and I cannot for the life of me think of 5 Xbox One or PS4 console exclusives that would be considered reasons to buy one over the other. I own a Wii U and a PS4, but my 4 was bought for remote playing multiplayer games via the PlayStation TV. Question is, do you think that by the release of the NX, Xbox 2, and PS5 that the library will be as vast as their predecessors? Thanks for the funny, Bert Cocaine. So I'm going to tell you right now, the PlayStation 4, let's take a look, all right? Why don't we take a look at the list? I know that the Xbox One hasn't had a bunch of exclusives. It really is kind of going to just depend, Bert, on your particular criteria for what is an appropriate exclusive, right? Of what is exclusive and is worth it. So let's see here. Here's upcoming. Here's release. Let's take a look at some of the Xbox One exclusives: Forza Motorsport, Halo Master Chief Collection, Halo 5 Guardians, Rare Replay, Sunset Overdrive, Power Star Golf, Crimson Dragon.
This is for upcoming stuff, right?
No, this is stuff that's already out.
Right, okay.
Crimson Dragon and
Tomb Raider.
Well, nope. See, Tomb Raider's a timed exclusive. It's already out, or it's coming out soon on the PC, and it'll be out in December on the PlayStation 4.
It's already out on the PC, I think.
Okay, yeah, probably so. Xbox Fitness, and so that's currently released Xbox One exclusive titles, which is not a great list. That's what I've been saying, though, for the last year, is stuff that the Xbox needs to get their exclusive stuff out. So this year, Crackdown 3, Gears of War 4, Halo Wars 2, Phantom Dust, Quantum Break, Scalebound, which is actually next year, which is not great. It's not a huge list. I'm not looking at a total list here, but let's take a look at PS4 exclusives. Let's see here.
Uncharted 4. Hell yeah.
Okay, so here's a list of PS4 exclusives. And I've got these in no particular order. This is off Wikipedia. Ace Combat 7, 100-Foot Robot Golf. This is in alphabetical order, apparently. And I'm not going to mention all of these. Bloodborne, Disgaea 5, Drive Club, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Fat Princess Adventures, Gran Turismo 7, Gravity Rush 2, Hot Shots Golf, Infamous, First Light, Infamous Second Son, Killzone Shadowfall, Kingdom Hearts 2. Okay, never mind, not that. Knack. Last Guardian, Neo Kuni.
Wait, Last Guardian, is that out?
No, it's not out. This is in no particular order, and these are not out yet.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah. Or some of them are, and some of them aren't. Neo, Nino Kuni 2, the new Nier game, Nier Automata, The Order 1886, Psychonauts and the Rhombus of Ruin, Ratchet and Clank, Res Infinite, Tearaway Unfolded, Uncharted 4, and the Nathan Drake Collection, Until Dawn, the new Valkyria Chronicles game, Yakuza 6, and that's kind of the end of that particular list. So here's the thing. I think that, Bert, I think that what you're looking at is that we live in a world that is where exclusives are largely controlled by basically who owns the IP property. Neither the Xbox One nor the PS4, I feel like, has enough of a computing gap on the other one to make it a thing where it's like, well, this game could only be on the Xbox because the PlayStation, or this game could only be on the PlayStation because the Xbox doesn't have enough power to run it. So what you're looking for right now is just paid exclusives. I feel like there's a fair amount out there, and I think that it's a little. I think that you maybe be a little bit stringent about. You can't think of 5 Xbox One or PS4 console exclusives that would be considered reasons to buy one over the other. I can, Halo, Crackdown, Gears of War, Tomb Raider for the exclusivity, and say Killer Instinct. That's 5 on the Xbox One. On the PlayStation 4, Bloodborne, Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank. Let's see. For me, at least, like something like
The Last of Us as well. I think
Neo. Oh no. Well, I don't know if that's actually been announced yet.
He did by accident, though.
I don't know if that ever got fully confirmed.
He said it by accident, though. No, I think it was Nolan North.
Right. Call it Until Dawn and Yakuza 6, right? There's 5 games on both systems that I feel like are reason enough to buy one of those systems over the other. It's just going to kind of depend on what you're in for. But his question is, do you think that by the release of the NX, Xbox 2, and PS5 that a library will be as vast as their predecessors? Absolutely not. We are not living in a world anymore where you have a giant library for the PS2, for the PlayStation, of games that you can only play on the PlayStation. We are just straight up not living in that world anymore. You're going to find stuff that's exclusive, but there is really very little difference these days between the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the PC, outside of games that have been specifically built for those systems and restricted to those systems for no good reason. To give you an example, there is no reason why all of the Halo games should not be out on the PC right now.
Thank you. Yes. Shit.
Yeah.
I haven't played any since the first 2. I've been dying to play the other games, but they won't release them on the PC.
Yeah. There's no reason why Gears of War 3 is not out on the PC. I think that all of these work perfectly well. And especially now that we know that the internal guts of both of these systems are just straight up PCs, there is no reason. The only reason why you can't have Uncharted 4 on the Xbox One is because Sony will not release it there. The only reason you will not ever have Halo on the PS4 is because Sony will not release, or because Microsoft will not release it there. So what you're talking about as far as like a reason to buy the console being that there's like 200 console specific games that you can only get if you buy a PlayStation 4, that is never going to happen ever again in our life. If anything, if you look at it as a trend, it's only getting less and less as time goes on, mostly because the way that the internal guts of the system are, they're just too close, and it doesn't make any sense for a developer to lock their property onto one system or the other unless that console holder pays them a big fat check, right? The reason that Tomb Raider is an Xbox 1 year long, Rise of the Tomb Raider is an Xbox 1 year long exclusive, is because Microsoft gave them a shitload of money. Crystal Dynamics, I think, still makes that. So yeah, like, you are never going to be in that position ever again. In fact, if that's the way that you're looking at the video games in question, buy a PC, because you're going to do better on a PC than you are ever expecting these particular consoles to have that level of exclusive titles. I don't know. Do you have anything to add? I feel like I've been pontificating for the last 5 minutes here, Nick.
No, I totally agree with you. I used to get incredibly frustrated when I couldn't play certain games because they didn't have them on the PlayStation. So I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. I still understand why they don't release Halo for PC. I mean, they could easily do it.
It's the same reason they there's a whole online petition.
Microsoft sells PCs.
Sure.
I understand PlayStation. That's absolutely fine. But they make PCs.
Yeah, but they have to have... I mean, here's the thing. If you could buy a PC... If you could buy Halo on the PC, you would never have any reason to buy an Xbox. You would never... I mean, if they released all that stuff on the PC, if they released Crackdown and Gears and Halo and all of the games that Microsoft is like big into, Forza Motorsport... then you wouldn't have any reason to buy one. Like, why would you ever buy an Xbox?
Why would I buy an Xbox just for one gaming franchise?
Well, but I mean, that's a little disingenuous just because of the... I mean, you already know that people are bug shit bananas for Halo, right? You got people who, every time we say the word Halo out loud, people get upset about something that we're talking about on it.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I mean, the reason I got a PlayStation was for the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I know that's over now, but right. I don't regret my decision. And because now Naughty Dog has filled in its place.
Mm-hmm. So, with Uncharted? With
Uncharted and The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was ever a PC release for Metal Gear Solid 3, was there? I mean, if you were just a PC Master Race kind of person, I don't think there's a way for you to play.
There was, I think.
Was there?
Really? I can't. No. Sorry, my brother was able to get like one of those PlayStation emulators or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. I don't think there was. There was one for MGS2, I believe.
Yeah, I believe I know that there was one for 1 because I actually own it, but because I'm a crazy person.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think there ever was for. I mean, it's funny because they put Metal Gear Solid 3 out on the 3DS of all places, and they had the HD collection that came out on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PlayStation Vita, not on the PC. So that was Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. If you wanted to play those games and you had a PC, you would be shit out of luck, just like the rest of it. So
yeah, just like what they did with the Twin Snakes on the fucking GameCube.
Yep. I mean,
I was like, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Here, check me real fast on this, Nick, but isn't Metal Gear Solid 5 the first Metal Gear game you've been able to play on the PC since Metal Gear Solid 2? Because 3 was on the PC, 4 was PlayStation 3 exclusive, Portable Ops was PS3, Xbox 360, PSP, and Vita.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah.
And Peace Walker was there too. So yeah, I mean, like, I think it's been that long. And in any case, answer your question, I think, Bert, we've kind of driven this particular point into the ground. But
right.
All right, our next question comes in from Bill, and Bill says, "Hello, Jeff and Nick. Hope the day is treating you well. I've been contemplating one of my favorite aspects of gaming lately, which would be the fulfillment of power fantasy, an aspect I feel unique to gaming. By power fantasy, I generally just mean the sensation of being the biggest badass in the room. My question is this. What would you say is the game that has truly fulfilled your power fantasy needs? What aspects of that game gave you that fulfillment? And if you were to design a game, how would you implement them? Thanks for your thoughts. That drunken idiot, Bill. And he says, P.S. Jeff, thanks for the suggestion of One Punch Man. It single-handedly got me back into anime. That's great to hear, Bill. I mean, One Punch Man's a great show. What do you think? What's your favorite power fantasy game out there, Nick?
I don't know what a power fantasy is.
Could
you put it in context for me?
Sure. Okay. When you're playing God of War as Kratos and you're ripping and you're destroying the fates and rewriting history, that is a fantasy based on an incredible amount of power that you will never wield in real life because it is fictional, right?
Okay.
So, for me personally, I would say that my biggest power fantasy game was probably Fallout 3 because of the way that I was able to game that system to the point where my character, both Fallout 3 and Skyrim, I was able to make my character into such an unstoppable murderous machine that nothing in the game could really stop me. And so I was just able to walk around the world. Like I always say that when I was playing Fallout 3, that I had to put all of my equipment away and walk out into the wasteland naked in order to have any kind of challenge because my character was so freaking powerful. So, but yeah, that's probably the best. I mean, I think God of War is a great example. Just the stuff that you could do in God of War. I mean, Kratos fucks the world up in Fallout.
Yeah, and he does.
God of War 3. Like, you just don't give no shits. They're just like, you're killing the guy who brings the sun up. And he's like, I don't fuck the sun, man. I don't care. Whatever. It's like, you're killing Mother Nature to death. Nothing can live.
I don't even like Mother Nature. Fuck her.
That's right. I don't even like vegetables. I hate them. I would just rather eat just the meat of the blood of my enemies.
Yeah, exactly. I prefer bacon.
That's right. So, I don't know. What do you think? The
Witcher, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, once I get to level 30, I know a lot of people complain the game is too easy for me now. I love that. Mm-hmm. I love it when you're so awesome that you can kill people with one sword stroke. Mm-hmm. So when you walk into a town and you see someone trying to rape a woman, you're like, hey, get your hands off of her, mm-hmm. or you'll have to deal with me. And then 10 guys think that they could take you on, and you're just sort of playing with them, dodge, and then you slice his head off, or you split him in half. And then when you see other people run away, you're like, yeah, you better run. And then you're like, oh, I so wish I could do something like this in real life.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the whole power fantasy thing is all about to me is if you want to make it hard for me to become very powerful, I have no problem working for it. The problem is that the only problem that comes in some games where, especially RPGs, where if I work for it, I want to feel super powerful. I want to feel like I'm making progress, and enemies that used to be very difficult are now very easy to me because I spent 10 hours grinding and making equipment and leveling up and getting new powers and things like that. I want that to be a thing. And I think that was one of the reasons why Fallout 4 didn't do it for me quite as well, was because I was just never able to achieve that level of I am an unstoppable murder god. I'll bow to Jeff. So anyway,
yeah, I'm totally there with you. Although I don't like it when they add DLC and they make it all hard all over again. Mm-hmm. It's I worked really hard at that. Come on, don't make it hard for the sake of making it hard. I mean, it's already hard in real life. I want escapism when I play a game. I want to be an unstoppable killing machine.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to have to pick just a couple more of these questions. All right, let's go with... I'm going to have to cut a couple of these down because we're already way over. All right, here's a short one, and then we got one more after that, and then we're out. This one says, It's from our friend Jujitsu, who says, "Hello, Ragecasters. I recently watched You Don't Mess with the Zohan for the first time, and in my opinion, it did not deserve to be as funny or as good as it was. For whatever reason, and even though I should hate movies like this, it got me. In the end, I had to admit I liked it, but a little piece of me died at doing so." Are there games that make you feel the same way? Like, even though the dialogue is bad, or the graphics are terrible, or the story is stupid, for whatever reason, you ended up liking it, even though you know you shouldn't.
I know your answer.
What is my answer? Tell me.
Walking Dead.
Oh,
Survival Instinct.
Survival Instinct?
Yeah.
I would go as far as to say I liked that game.
You had so much fun playing that game.
I had a fair amount of fun playing that game. This is very true. I'm trying to think of games. I think that when I first read this question, I just saw "You Don't Mess with the Zohan," and I was like, "Ooh, I want to read a question that means that I could say I can reference that weird freaking movie." Have you ever seen that movie? The Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I didn't particularly care for it. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yep. Let's see.
Adam Sandler is an acquired taste.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let me think if I can think of. Do you have an answer off the top of your head?
Only game related?
Sure. If you don't have anything game at all, we can go to a movie or a TV show. Maybe I think I got a couple that fit in this.
Yeah. I think I do. Although I hate myself for finding it funny. Mm-hmm. Shit, I don't feel so bad. White chicks. I hate like the way it's movies. I really do, but that movie cracks me up. Like with what's the big black guy? What's his name?
Terry Crews.
Terry Crews.
I've never seen White Chicks. I was just like, nope, not interested. But
he's hilarious in that movie. Mm-hmm. And the whole premise, these black guys are trying to pretend to be white chicks, and like the most ugliest costumes you'll ever see. Like, no one for a second would believe that they were really white girls, and that's what kind of makes it funny, because they look so awful. So anyway, Terry Crews has got a crush on one of them and spends the entire movie trying to get in that other guy's pants, and he has to go along with it as well, and it's just absolutely hilarious.
Okay.
One of my favorite lines is like, "Hey there, white chocolate," and he's like all covered in lotion and he's all shiny and shit.
Okay. Let's see. As far as games go, the Army of Two games, I really like that franchise. Like, I think it's really fun, in spite of the fact that it's like really stupid and not very good. In fact, the only thing the last game, God, what was the last Army of Two game called? Have you ever played any of those, Nick?
I played the first one. I didn't think the second one was particularly very good.
It wasn't as good as the first one. In the first one, you gold plate your guns and fist bump. Let's see. The problem that I had was the last one was, let's see, what was it? So the 40th Day was, I believe, the second one, and then the Devil's Cartel, right? That was the one where they made you play as two new assholes. Like, I'm like, dude, Rios and Salem, like, they're the assholes that I want to play, where they kill a bunch of people and then fist bump. Like, that's the thing that I want to. That's what I want. But no, they switched over to two new people, and I was just like, why? Why did you do this? I'm trying to think of some more. Oh, that's a good one. I'm just looking at a few lists of things. Blood Rain. Have you ever played Blood Rain, Nick?
The vampire game?
Yes. I remember downloading, speaking of demos, bring it all the way back to the beginning. Speaking of demos, I remember that game, downloading a demo for it and being like, okay, this is the third person. I'm this like crazy vampire chick, and I'm in this, got a bunch of Nazis, and I'm like, holy shit, you can jump on a Nazi, suck their blood, and shoot two MP40s or whatever over their shoulders in slow motion and murder Nazis while like the blood rain is all wrapped up against this person, like sucking their blood. I'm like, this is awesome. It's stupid, but it's so awesome. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can think of that. I'm just looking at a few lists to. I just have to kind of just refresh my. You know what? Here's another one that. I don't know. A lot of people really don't like the whole Final Fantasy 13 games, and I definitely have my problems with them, but I'm still kind of a fan of Final Fantasy. Oh, right, and here's the other one that I was thinking of was Earth Defense Force. Have you ever played any of those games? There's one for the PS4. It's really cheesy. If you can find it for like $10 on a sale or something, I really recommend it. It's just this third-person action game, and the whole thing is about these giant bugs that come to destroy the Earth. Like, they're just giant ants and giant spiders and giant, like, other bugs, and that's how they start. And then these aliens come down in, like, giant mech suits, and you're just, like, a guy on the ground with a machine gun just murdering hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ants over and over again. And I love it. It's so stupid and cheesy. Like, whenever you're little, because you're with a bunch of AI guys, and whenever they win a battle, they all start going, EDF, EDF, EDF. And I'm just like, I play it, and I'm like, yeah, right, EDF. I know, right? So there's a few. One last question real fast. Josh says, hey, guys, can't remember if I asked this question before, but since you were asked for questions for the podcast, I thought I could put this one out there. I was wondering if you were annoyed as much as I am with the mandatory game updates that are usually 10 to 20 gigabytes and the requirement to dump a whole game to the hard drive console. I usually have to wait from a few hours to overnight to play a game I just purchased. Considering you play games every day, Jeff, I would think this would be infuriating and highly disruptive to you, but I haven't heard any rants about it. Are you just a Buddhist monk of tranquility, or do you have a lightning-fast internet connection? Either way, I would love to hear your opinion. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Josh. So, what do you say, Nick? You want to rant a little bit?
Well, the thing is, because I don't play my PlayStation as much as you do, so when I have the urge to play something, I'm like, oh, good. Now I've got some time to myself. I finished my script. I could just play. And then I put the PlayStation on, and it has to fucking update with all the stuff that I hadn't done for like a month or so. It's even worse if you come back from a break or something. Like if you come back from Christmas holiday and it's been 3 or 4 weeks, and then you have like a whole game's worth to download.
Oh yeah,
like the Witcher 3 was the worst one with like loads of gigabytes for that. And I was like, what does it? How many patches do you really need? Does it really need to be that heavy? To because it's about as much as the game itself was when you first installed it.
Sure. I mean, I could see, you know what, on all honesty, I could see, because CD Projekt Red actually does make significant updates to their games when they patch them. Like, I know all the work that they've done on their games over the course of the time that they've been out. They do make a difference. They do change things and update stuff and put stuff in. So I can at least see that.
I'm just venting.
I know.
I've got nothing but respect for CK Project Red, a lot more than some other companies.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that that for me, I mean, I always try to do stuff ahead of time. So like the only times that I get really messed up by this sort of thing is when a game comes out. Like, it's like, let's say that on Tuesday, Tuesday's our first recording day of every week. Let's say we're going to play a game and that game comes out on Tuesday. Usually we record in the evening, so usually I can let it download for 3 or 4 hours. I do pay for a pretty fast internet connection. But for bigger games, I'll always try to get the disc version. And if worse comes to worse, if it's a big game that I know is going to have a huge update and there's a disc version of it, I will go and I will stop the update and be like, oh, don't you want to patch this game before you play it? And I'll go, nope. Oh, we're going to play it now. Fuck it. We'll do it live. But it's so much a part of my life of just installing a game and then waiting for it to update and then waiting for a game and this and that and the other thing, that usually by the Monday or Tuesday of the week, I have everything all mapped out. Like, I already know all the games that I'm going to play this week. So I'll usually just try to get them all lined up and if there's a preload for them, a lot of times I'll just try to do that and get them all put together. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I'm constantly. I know that a lot of people out there have been like, I'm pissed off that I ever have to uninstall a game or I ever have to delete a game I'm not playing anymore, and it's just such a part of my life, Nick, that I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just delete. Like I just deleted the install data for Grand Theft Auto 5 because it's been sitting on my PS4 for a while, and I don't think I'm going to be going back to it anytime soon. And I'm just like, yeah. So I don't know. It's not a big deal for me. It's part of my life. So it's just a thing that I'm not really like. I don't get irritated because I know that it's going to happen every day, and that it's just kind of a part of what I do.
You download like a pro, Jeff.
That's right. I'm just kind of pretty much
like
just
a boss.
Consistently, always be downloading. ABD, always be downloading. And you know what? That is our show for the week. Nick, thanks so much for coming on. We went a little bit long, as we tend to do.
As we usually do, yes.
Yep. Where can the people find you and the history? Where can they find all of the history and buffed to a gleaming shine on the internet?
Oh, that's a good analogy. Well, you can find me on YouTube. Just type in History Buffs. On Facebook, you just type in History Buffs London after the whole Facebook.com thing. And on Twitter, I am History Buffs _.
Okay. And with that, one more time, mail@rageselect.com is the email address. Send us in your questions when you feel like it, and we will answer them directly here on the air. And we'll be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't bother me. It does bother me. Final Fantasy 15. Those are the only 3 answers that we usually give, or Dark Souls. So there you go. And with that, we're out. I've got about 1 million more hours of Bloodborne to play. And Nick, I'm sure there's some particular point in human history that is requiring your immediate attention.
Yes. Yeah, finally.